BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Mayfield back to pass, pocket collapsing, steps up, heaves it down the field. This is going to reach the end zone, and it's incomplete. Godwin turned around a little too late, but he was in the vicinity to make the catch. He did not, and the game is over. Third week in a row, the game ends with the ball in the end zone. My goodness.
Hate it coming down to a last play like that. We put our defense in that situation a few times in the past couple weeks. We got to find a way to end it on our own terms.
Lots of problems still with the Bills.
Mike Danger.
It's a victory Monday on a Friday that feels like I don't know what day it feels like anymore.
Right.
But we're celebrating another Buffalo Bills victory.
Gene Battaglia.
Can we just start there? It doesn't matter like how these wins are happening. They're just happening. So let's just kind of enjoy this.
Yes.
And hello, World Series.
Hello. The NBA says it's investigating James Harden's absence from the Sixers.
College football.
The Sabres
In a game tonight against the New Jersey Devils.
Amerks Laval. 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Hey, good afternoon. Pull up a stool and join us. Welcome on into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader. We appreciate you checking us out locally at 95.7 FM, AM 950. We sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app. You can also watch the Sports Bar. Our video stream is up at the Fan Rochester on YouTube and on Twitch. Don't forget to like and subscribe there. As mentioned in the open, it's a victory Friday, a victory Monday on a Friday that feels like today is nobody's straight today. Everybody's a mess after yesterday, right?
Yeah. I mean, what time did you go? I worked the game. I got home at 3:07. So
you stayed up later than I did.
Yeah.
I find that when they win, even when they win in uncomfortable fashion, it's easier to fall asleep. It's when they lose games that they should, like the game against the Giants had me rattled. They won that game, but just the way they won it was so unnerving that I couldn't sleep after that game. That was a late night. This one, felt like, okay.
Oh, last night would have been the all-timer, though.
Yeah.
If Godwin can locate that ball, it's
then you're like, what exactly is wrong with this? This team is actually cursed. We are going to talk a lot of Bills Bucks and recap last night's win in Orchard Park here in the Sports Bar this afternoon, and we're glad you're along for the ride. Here's what's on tap at Three Heads Brewing. Mexican dark lager. Enjoy this traditional Vienna-style lager that's enjoyed south and north of the border. Get yours at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue today. The Buffalo Bills Radio Network. You hear him on the pre and the post game show. Nate Geary will be stopping by next hour.
Yeah, so we'll get his thoughts on this offense, on the trade deadline. So it's not all gloomy, right? They won. There are positives, but we can kind of recognize the Buccaneers aren't all that. It's going to get much more difficult in terms of the opponents. Coming up, we'll talk to Nate Geary in the 4 o'clock hour.
And now that we've got a Bills W out of the way for Week 8, we can kick back, relax, and enjoy all of the other sports offerings this weekend has to offer. And there is no shortage, starting with tonight's Game 1 of the World Series between the Rangers and the Diamondbacks. Gene, I'm ready to watch.
You're ready.
You're protesting.
I think I'll watch Sabres hockey tonight.
Oh, I'll record that, and I'll go back and watch that.
Okay, you'll watch that.
Yeah, we'll do a double dip. We'll do a double header.
But we will talk to our good friend. He comes from Rochester roots, too. Jim Riley from Ballcap Sports. You can hear his podcast inside the Odyssey app.
Yeah, right. The host of the Odyssey original podcast, Barreled Up. Make sure to follow the Barreled Up podcast on the Odyssey app or subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Jim Riley gives us a preview of the World Series coming up here in about 20 minutes or so. We've got the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line open for you at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326 if you want to share your thoughts on yesterday's win against the Buccaneers.
What's your minimum hours of sleep? Because in perfect world, we love 8. Nobody ever gets 8. It's more like 6, maybe 7. But if I get 5, I'm fine. I got 5 last night. I mean, so I get the 5 like a log. I wake up, phone. Okay, first thing that before you even got to bed, check. And the executive producer's already gone to work, and she texted me. Now, for anybody that's just in a new relationship.
So this is 8 o'clock in the morning.
8 o'clock in the morning ish. And when anybody's in a new relationship, it's not like, oh, honey, how was your night? I miss you, love you. No, it's more or less, this is your assignment. So I don't know if that works in your house. The assignment was this: clean up snake in sliding glass door.
Oh, you had a slithering snake?
It was just
camped out in your sliding glass door?
Well, I go over there. I'm like, oh gosh, it's a snake massacre. Like it got caught in between.
Oh,
right. So it was just kind of. It must have got cold last night or whatever it was. And great. Okay, this is how my sliding glass door. Newsflash: it's really tough to clean in between there, especially when you got. So I have snake skin and guts and everything. I like perfect for Halloween weekend.
Gross, Gino. Gross.
So I just like, wow, this is a sign that the Texas Rangers are just gonna 4 games, nothing.
That's an omen.
Yeah, it is an omen.
Rangers sweep because of the dead snake in Gene's back sliding glass door. That's a no for me too, by the way. Snakes? Nope. Good. I haven't seen a snake in and around my yard probably like a good 18 years or so.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we get the little garter snakes.
If I have them, I don't see them. But I do remember seeing one time when I was mowing the lawn. This is push mower days. So I'm dating myself here. Back in the days before you get the rider, and I remember seeing one. I'm like, no, not deathly afraid of snakes. I'm not Indiana Jones, but I just like, no, I don't want to have to worry about them, dispose of them. I feel the same way about like little voles and little, the little rodents.
Oh gosh, those I could, no, those are repulsive. Snakes, we'll keep an arm's distance. But there are guys like Scotty Karate that keep them as pets, and
hey man, you do you.
Nope,
not for me.
Nope,
not for me. Oh, but don't you want to hold it? No, I'm good.
Danger, it took me about a half hour to clean that up.
Oh, God.
Like, okay, well, this is negotiation. I got to go to the game last night, and now I'm cleaning up a dead snake.
Your assignment, clean up the snakes. We have a snake situation.
But I'm reading this, I'm like, what is she talking about?
That must have been traumatic for the entire house last night.
I'm sure I'm going to hear about
some screams.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear death screams whenever somebody sees a spider in my house. I've been designated spider killer. I can do it. Like, that's not a problem. I'm fine with taking care of insects. I'm fine with killing spiders. But the shrieks of terror that come out of the girls when they see a spider, if they saw a snake, let alone a snake get that close to the house, forget it.
I still get scared when I see a mouse. Not scared, but just startled when you see a mouse or something.
I don't see many mice. I just see the little voles every now and then in the backyard. They'll chew their way and like create little paths in your yard, in your lawn in the wintertime, especially when they're buried underneath the snow. Yeah, I hate those little bastards. Those guys drive me nuts. I can handle them, but I'm not I'd rather just like snakes though. If it was a snake, no, we're burning the house down. Sorry, kids, time to move.
Well, I guess this is the sign that the executive producer actually does care about me, because I didn't get the assignment at 3:00 in the morning. She let me at least get a few hours of sleep.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. So a long night for you and a long morning for you. And like I said, we've got a great weekend ahead of us. I mean, you could argue that this is the best weekend on the sports calendar. It's all happening.
I'd say normally if it was a World Series I cared about.
I'm
sorry.
Listen to you.
I saw Brasky out there last night, and he loves baseball. And you watching it, and there's nope, not watching it.
And you guys don't love baseball. You just don't love
baseball.
I
don't love baseball.
I guess you just don't love baseball. That's what it's come down to. The horror, the shame. We've got happy hour coming up after 5:00. We've got a round of shots We've got some news and notes to get to from around the NFL. We'll do that throughout the course of the afternoon. We can't forget about some takes on tap with I'll drink to that. That's happening here right around 4 o'clock as well. And your phone calls at 866-4326.
Yeah, so we'll get to the calls in a second. Here's my take on last night. Let me start with the positive, because I'm sure we'll have plenty of times for the negative. McDermott's management of the game, the defense being average. Dalton Kincaid is a different player. Every once in a while, a guy will show up on the scene, and he has a different skill set that is, I'm not used to seeing that. Sure, there's a lot of wide receivers who can do a toe tap, but how many tight ends in this league running full speed, ball thrown behind them? Yeah, sure, some can make the adjustment and make the catch and then go down and get tackled. No, I'm going to make the catch and then full steam. That opening drive of the third quarter, which resulted in a touchdown. Mike Danger, how did it take this long, or was it just the Dawson Knox injury? Because moving forward, more Dalton Kincaid, 11 personnel, meaning no more 2 tight end formations, okay? Dawson Knox, I'm sorry, it's cruel, but I want to see Dalton Kincaid here on out.
You know, that 12 personnel, that 2 tight end formation was something that we heard Ken Dorsey talk about prior to, not this season, but prior to last season. Remember? We wanted to try and run more. This was after 13 seconds.
Right.
They were enamored with what Kelsey was able to do, how Kelsey was able to kind of, split the levels of the defense and always find space. And, the idea that if you ran more 12 personnel, you could get more plays like that. You could have an offense that's more in line with that. We knew that, and we knew pass catching running backs out of the backfield. Those were the 2 things that Brandon Beane kind of like wanted to shape and mold this offense to be. And when you bring in Ken Dorsey, and last year, I want to say, if I remember correctly, the Bills were last in terms of teams that ran 12 personnel.
That's correct.
This year, to start the year, the Bills were running 12 personnel almost over half of their offensive snaps to start the season. Now, obviously, last night and through the course of the season, where we've seen it work at times, they were in it almost to a fault. And when we talk about, what today is? Today is a great day to be an armchair head coach, to be a living room offensive coordinator. Gene, everything we said about this offense, we were right. We were right.
No one cares when you're right.
Nobody cares when you're right.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. When we designated the word that they were all talking, rhythm. Okay, what does that mean, rhythm? We know what rhythm looks like now, because that's what they were in last night.
Get up to the line of scrimmage. Let's go.
They were in a rhythm, and that's the Josh Allen. And I think fans knew it right away, right? As soon as you see Josh Allen on a designed run, or you see him slide, and you're like, okay, now he's in it. He's in the game. That's what rhythm looks like. And I don't know what took them so long. Maybe it was Dawson Knox being forced out of the lineup. You're right about Kincaid. Kincaid could be a very special player. I think Kincaid is only going to get better as he bulks up, as he gets a little bit more size, a little bit more meat on his bones. But his athleticism, the toe tap is spectacular. The catch that he made that was thrown behind him in stride, and still to get yards, tough yards after the catch. And that's, before you even talk about the touchdown, right? He could have had 2 touchdowns, because the little shovel pass, he was just short of the goal line for that one. Kincaid had another nice game. And he's, as the season wears on here, he's gonna emerge as a superstar tight end.
Yeah, and maybe that can be your true number 2 target in this offense. And it's good to see Khalil Shakir and Gabe Davis.
Why do you need a number 2 when you've got 4 number 2 targets behind Stephon Diggs? I mean, Shakir, Gabe Davis, Kincaid all had great games last night, and again, they were all schemed open. They were all part of this rhythm that they got into early on by going no huddle and picking up the tempo. It was great.
Yeah, and you could say, well, the Bills scored more points against New England, and no, clearly the offense was better last night. Our phone number, 585-866-4326. Tim in San Diego. What's up, Tim?
Well, I thought I was calling the sports bar at first, then it turned into an Animal Planet there for a second. What's going on?
Crikey.
Yeah. Come on over, Tim. I mean, there might be some snake remnants if you want to help.
You got Gene in his backyard with a machete. He's bare-chested. He's going out into the wild. It starts with a garter snake. It ends with Gene alligator wrestling somewhere in the swamps of Florida, okay?
I'd do pay-per-view for that one.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah. But as you mentioned, you mentioned the way Josh Allen was distributing the ball last night. My guy Khalil Shakir, love the guy. Leading the team in yardage, and obviously Kincaid. He's going to make people forget about Dawson Knox real quick, I think, if he keeps this up. You're talking about McDermott, and to me, man, he's going back to Dick Duran. He's starting to coach scared again, and we need to get that. He needs to right that ship. And especially with the offense, it's not built for a time-consuming ball control type of drive. They are, like you mentioned, the rhythm, up-tempo. That's when they're at their best, and they need to keep it that way. We need to see more of the Miami game come back, in terms of their offensive flow and rhythm. And, yes, we did see the rhythm last night, but they need more of that. 7 points in the second half is inexcusable. They should have just kept going and going and going. And I think a lot of that is McDermott probably trying to pump the brakes a little bit because – you're up 2 touchdowns, but that's not the time to start playing prevent. You need to keep scoring in this case, and with the defense the way it is, depleted as everybody knows. They held up well, but Jordan Phillips seems to have his one dumb penalty a game, and it came at a crucial time, as well as Von Miller. Von Miller gave Baker Mayfield that extra 5 yards so he could chuck it in the end zone. So, the penalties down the stretch were not good at all. But my thing is they should dust off Ted Marchibroda's playbook and bring it back and get the J gun going. So
wow, nice,
yeah.
Nice. Are you watching the World Series, Tim?
No, even though I'll root for Bruce Bochy, former Padre manager, and watch him win another World Series and just really stick another dagger in Padre fans. That it's like, oh, what could have been if they stuck with him. But
the Padres only finished 2 games back Arizona. Tim.
Yeah, I know, but. Whatever. Bob Melvin's going to go to the Giants now. Probably win a World Series with them. So I think that's the trend.
Not watching the World Series though, Tim. So you like Gene? You too are not a lover of baseball. Good to know.
I like baseball, Danger, but I just with this series and the way it is, it's not very compelling. I think Texas wins in 5 or 6. To be honest.
What about the game? What about the actual game itself? You just need a compelling matchup to watch it. You don't actually want to watch the game. It's baseball. This is the fabric of America we're talking about.
I'm sorry. Are you waving an American flag as you're saying that?
I'm humming "Hail to the Chief" in my head, pal. Listen, absolutely. What are we doing?
Yeah, I can't get into it this year. So,
all right, Tim. Appreciate the call. Have a great weekend, buddy. There he is, Tim in San Diego.
Wait, why don't you just do it in a James Earl Jones voice?
This is America. Baseball is the fabric of our country. If you watch the World Series, or you are not an American.
I have the playbook in front of me. So beginning of so actually you got to go back to the end of the third quarter because this was weird. The Bills just could have taken to the fourth quarter, bleed clock, you're up by 2 touchdowns. And the fact they ran a play and they weren't ready for it. There were 3 seconds remaining in the quarter.
Yeah.
And Allen gets sacked.
Yeah.
That was a dumb play.
That was weird.
That was dumb.
Yeah.
So whoever thought that was a good idea, they were going to catch off. Okay, now you're actually.
Now everybody also said that Tampa Bay was offsides on that play. That was a neutral zone infraction.
That's correct. That didn't get.
But they didn't blow it.
They didn't blow it down.
So.
Yeah, it doesn't excuse you for running that play. There's 2 questionable decisions here by McDermott, and the analytics would have said go for it. 4th and 4 at the Tampa Bay 42. Well, you take the delay of game 5 yards, and you end up punting. And credit for Sam Martin, he pins Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Sam Martin was really the key to the game in the second half.
Yeah,
Sam Martin is the second half MVP.
Yeah, and so you force the 3 and out, and I'm like, okay, well, this is good. But then the Bills stall out again at midfield. You've got a 4th and 2 at the Tampa Bay 44, and again they punted.
Mm-hmm.
So. One of those 2 times, if you get a first down, it's a much different outcome at that. So, yes, you can say Jordan Phillips. Yes, you could say, and I agree with Brownie on this, the Taron Johnson illegal contact. Really? What are you talking about? That was on a 4th down play. So there were 2 times in that second from last drive that Tampa was stopped, and the drive continued. One for a bad call, the other for
face mask.
Yeah, just what are you doing, Jordan Phillips?
Yeah,
you're out of your mind there.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, look, it wasn't all perfect. The 3rd and goal shotgun run in the first quarter. Where you put Allen in shotgun.
Why are you running shotgun in the goal line?
Right, and you do Murray up the middle. then going for it on 4th and goal, not getting it on 4th and goal. Like the game shouldn't have ever been as close as it was. But again, these little tiny details, these small flaws in execution, these kind of questionable play calls at different points of the game, every play matters, man. Every play matters. And just that last play of the third quarter that you were talking about, that's hilarious. That I remember thinking to myself, like, well, that didn't work. Like, that was, I get what you're trying, if you're trying to draw them offside, you did, but you actually snapped the ball, and you know, nobody was expecting you to snap the ball, and you get killed. Yeah, not great. Not great, Bob. So plenty, there is still some of the blame assessment to go around. I mean, we have some blame to go around for some of what went wrong, and the McDermott defense getting soft at the end. And
we just have to come to the realization, can I say this out loud? This is an average defense. You can't lose an all-pro linebacker and playing in an all-pro defensive tackle in Daquan Jones, and a very serviceable, a little past his prime, Tre'Davious White, and expect, hey, we're still going to be in top 10 defense. No, by average, I'm saying right in the middle of the pack. And with that, any team's going to have a shot at the end.
I'm glad that everybody agrees that the team just looks. We found the thing that the team needed more than anything to get the win and to kind of start to right the ship. And I, for one, am so excited to see Josh Norman back on the field and contributing in meaningful ways. The guy that you just signed off the street that keeps Kyer Elam on the sideline. And for what it's worth, Norman did play special teams, made a couple of tackles on during kickoffs, and look, I'm being cheeky, but like who would have expected Josh Norman when they signed him and I said if Josh Norman is on the field, something has gone terribly wrong. He played special teams and he did well. He contributed in special teams, and I guess that's better than the alternative.
This is a huge whiff by the scouting department. Brandon Beane, if I had to evaluate when it comes to free agency and knowing what somebody's value is, knowing what the market is, like, honestly, they didn't overpay for Jordan Poyer. He knew you could get him back. Poyer was balling out last night. Brandon Beane, more often than not, when it comes to free agency, kind of spot on. And knowing that, hey, we can't afford that for Devin Singletary. We can get something of equal value. Is anybody minding that Singletary's somewhere else?
Nobody misses Tremaine Edmonds.
Right. Except when it comes to the draft.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's speculation that Kyer Elam being inactive, maybe they're preventing him from getting injured so that he has more value when you try to trade him.
Boy, it would it shock me, but what are you getting for Kyer Elam at this point other than some minor cap relief?
What we don't know is what Kyer Elam is right now within the organization. If he's a malcontent, if he's unhappy with his role, if he's vocally unhappy, if he's a problem, then you get rid of him. Pick swap. Just get rid of him. Just move on from him.
I don't know who would give him pick swap. Like, who really would need a corner? Like, who would have value? You got to go find the team that, hey, we really wanted that guy 2 years ago. And the Bills, they don't run that defense that we have over here. He'd be a much better fit in our system.
Yeah.
I don't see that. I think come Tuesday night, he's still on this Bills team.
Well, we've got that, and we've got other Bills news and notes to get to when we are joined next hour by Nate Gary from the Buffalo Bills Radio Network. Looking forward to that conversation. Now, we do our duty as good Americans next in the Sports Bar.
One constant in America.
We're going to talk about the World Series with the host of the Odyssey Original podcast, Barreled Up. That's Jim Riley, who's got some Rochester roots, joining us next.
How does Nick Castellanos go at the beginning of the series? I mean, we could go back to Philadelphia, too. I mean, I'm sorry I want to open up wounds, but how do you go from looking like Babe Ruth, seemingly homering every other at-bat, to at the end you're looking foolish? It's a weird sport, Danger.
Yeah. Well, careful. Don't say it too loud, otherwise you're un-American. Jim Riley, Barreled Up, next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has
Bills hanging on 24-18, the win over Tampa Bay. They moved to 5-3 on the season. Josh Allen had 3 scores, including a touchdown run.
It just kind of opened up for me, and it was right after I landed on the shoulder, so it wasn't feeling great. So I was like, I don't want to take a hit, so I just try to not get it. It was a pass play, but again, it just kind of opened up, and I trusted my feet and my legs and made a play.
Next up for Buffalo, the Cincinnati Bengals. That's on Sunday night, November 5th. Tonight, it's Game 1 of the World Series. Arizona and Texas, the unexpected matchup. We'll talk to Jim Riley from Ballcap Sports coming up next year in the Sports Bar, the Barreled Up podcast, which you can hear inside the Odyssey app. Amherst Hockey tonight. Laval is the opponent. Don Stevens will have your call at 7 o'clock. Sabres Hockey tonight on WCMF. They are in New Jersey. Gene Battaglia in the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, now with the Bills win in our rearview mirror, we can kick back, put our feet up, enjoy all of the offerings that the sports calendar has for us this weekend, beginning with tonight. Game 1 of the World Series between the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, and we are joined by Jim Riley, the host of the Odyssey original podcast, Barreled Up, and Ballcap Sports as well on YouTube. Make sure to follow the Barreled Up podcast on the Odyssey app or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Jim, you're Bills Mafia. Do you have a take on last night's game?
I'm just happy they won. Let me just put it that way. I'm just happy that they won, and we don't have to have a conversation about, what's this team's, what's the rest of the season look like. Just win, baby.
Yeah. Jim, I'm old enough to remember 1991. That was Twins and Braves, and those are two teams that were like unexpected and ended up being this great World Series. So I'm hoping along the same lines. And Danger, I don't know if you saw this. No, like if you went back in time and bet that this would have been the combination, Texas and Arizona as your World Series on BetMGM, you would have had odds at plus 175,000. So these are two teams, Jim, that lost 100 games 2 years ago. How were they able to turn it around so quickly, this unexpected matchup here between Arizona and Texas?
Well, you've got a combination of things, I think. You've got some really good young talent that has come up and has made a very quick impact. And we're seeing that across the sport. We saw that with many teams, and that's only going to continue. The young talent in Major League Baseball is astounding. So you have that combined with some veteran experience, and in Texas's case, some big money that they doled out to bring in key free agents, and it's all paid off. These teams have been able to turn around very quickly. Gone are the days of 4, 5, 6 year rebuilds. You can turn your franchise around rather quickly.
What got Arizona to this point? Talk a little bit about that NLCS and I mean, Philly looking like they were in command in the postseason, and all of a sudden Arizona just kind of sneaks up and snatches a World Series berth.
Yeah, no doubt about it. After it was 2-0, Philly with the advantage going to Arizona, I really thought that the Diamondbacks were dead in the water because they had lost the first 2 games with their 2 best starters, and they were going to a guy that was kind of shaky. But it turns out that guy his name is Brandon Pfaadt, and you need to remember that name because he is steady and strong mentally in the postseason, and we're seeing it turn things around. I felt like Arizona went to a place when they went home down 0-2 where they were playing with their backs against the wall, scratching and clawing, fighting, and that was just a level that Philly was not yet. Philly was ahead 2-0. They were in a spot where they maybe felt like, if we lose this game, it's all right. But I'm a guy that feels like if you have a chance to slam the door and go up 3-0, you got to do it. And if you don't do it, you set yourself up for trouble. And that's exactly what happened. Arizona was playing with that urgency. And then when they went back to Philly, when everyone thought that's still 3-2 Philly, it's over, Arizona went to another level. They unlocked a whole new level when they went back to running. And they started stealing bases, and they were blazing a trail of fire behind them on the base pass, stealing bases. So they were just able to unlock these new gears, and Philly went into a power outage. All of a sudden, the team that hit a bunch of home runs stopped hitting home runs.
Yep, we're talking to our buddy Jim Riley, previewing tonight's Game 1 of the World Series. And, there are plenty of stories from this World Series. And one, we were talking about Texas, Jim, and I remember, when we first had you on, and my take on this team all year has been, boy, it has a really fun lineup. They don't have any pitching. Oh, you brought in Max Scherzer. They don't have any pitching. They're bullpen, blah, 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 blah. And one guy that has really stepped up, and maybe it's because this guy has been with marquee organizations. He started with the Dodgers, went to the Marlins, was with the Yankees, went to the Rays. The Red Sox was actually in an all-star game with the Red Sox. I'm talking about Nathan Eovaldi, probably Yankee fan, Red Sox fan, Dodger fan, are like, my gosh, nice that we had this promising pitcher we gave up on too soon, but it took him a little while here. How has he been able to kind of get to this place where he's starting Game 1 here tonight?
Big game Nate. He has been so fantastic. 4 starts, 4 victories, 4-0 in the postseason. He's on one of these postseason heaters. He went on one with the Red Sox a few years ago. He's a postseason. Some guys just get into the postseason and they're able to unlock a new level. He has been really good, generating swings and misses, locating his pitches, getting ahead, doing everything that you need to do to set yourself up to succeed. And he's going late in games, keeping that bullpen fresh for the next game. What he's done has really been a huge boost to this Rangers postseason run. It's phenomenal.
So he'll be on the mound tonight at home with Gallen taking the mound for the Diamondbacks. So tell me which direction you're leaning for tonight's action in Game 1 from Arlington. Well, Gallen, oddly enough, in the LCS did not pitch particularly well. You're looking for a guy who was a Cy Young candidate, Zach Gallen, to go out there and give you a shutdown effort where the other team just can't get anything going. Maybe they can scratch one across, but that's no big deal. But he's been giving up runs. Being that this is in Texas, and Texas, despite those 3 losses at home to Houston in the LCS, was really good at home all regular season long. So I expect that to continue, and I expect the Rangers to jump out to an early lead, throwing Nate Eovaldi out there, again, undefeated, with everyone sort of cranking. Adolis Garcia coming off a amazing LCS. There's so much momentum in the Rangers' favor right now, and likewise with Arizona, but it'll sort of reset with Arizona being back on the road and the Rangers going out there with, again, their top gun in Eovaldi and being at home to start this thing.
Yeah, Texas hasn't, at least to my knowledge, announced who's starting after tonight's Game 1, Game 2 tomorrow.
Right.
How much trust would you put in Scherzer here?
Well, I think it'll be Montgomery that goes in Game 2, and I'm surprised Bruce Bochy hasn't announced that. Bruce Bochy's just masterminding this World Series run. That's also, whatever he's doing it right, so that's fine. It'll probably be Montgomery. It'll probably be Scherzer in Game 3, and it's funny. Rarely do you look at a guy with this much career experience, this track record behind him, with the postseason experience, and call him an X factor. But he kind of is, because you don't know how many innings you're going to get out of him. If he goes out there and gives you, if you got to pull him in the third because either the pitch counts up or he's giving up runs, then you got to go to the bullpen and maybe you put yourself in a tough spot. But if he can go out there and give them 5 and limit the damage to maybe just 1 or 2 runs, then that could really be a boost for the Texas Rangers, because Game 3 is a swing game. You are either looking to slam the door and go up 3-0, you are looking to gain the advantage because the series is even, or you're down 0-2 and you need life. So that third game, I don't know, maybe Bochy's thinking about Scherzer in Game 2 because he wants Monty in Game 3. If they lose Game 1, maybe he's thinking he'll fire Scherzer in Game 2 and then go with Montgomery in Game 3. I don't know, but you can't question Bochy at this point.
Jim Raleigh, Barreled Up, the podcast you can find in the Odyssey app, also Ballcap Sports on YouTube, joining us here to preview the World Series and to talk a little bit about the offseason. We're already seeing some managerial shifting. I wanted to get your take on the changes that have already occurred. Who's leaving, who's coming, who's going. We got the Dusty Baker news here in the last 24 hours as well. Jim, what's your take on some of these managerial opens here ahead of the offseason for Major League Baseball?
Well, in Houston, it feels like it's Joe Espada, and anything else would just be the wrong move. He's been there. He's experienced. The players know him. I got to think that it's Joe Espada and everyone else is at a disadvantage. But there's a report out there that Jeff Bagwell is going to oversee the hiring, and he's an advisor with the team. And the Astros fan base is not happy about that. I'll just put it that way. I feel like Joe Espada is the guy. Outside of that, they're talking about Mike Schultz to be the new San Diego manager now that he has packed his bags and gone back to the Bay. Bob Melvin leaving San Diego, going to San Fran. So one of those managerial openings is already taken. Mike Schultz apparently has an early advantage in San Diego, and I don't know if I love that too. Him or Ryan Flaherty. I kind of feel like A.J. Preller would maybe go with a guy that, I mean, look, the way things are going right now with how front offices and analytics, how everything's running, sometimes you want a yes man in that position.
Yeah.
And Ryan Flaherty might be a yes man. Mike Schultz might push back on that because he's a seasoned manager and he's been in the chair before, pulling the levers. So it's really going to be interesting to see how a lot of it plays out. There's some good candidates out there, but really those are two anyway that you're hearing a lot of news. You know, they talk about maybe the Mets grabbing Counsell away from the Brewers because the Brewers messed up and let Counsell get to the final year. He's a free agent. So the managerial stuff, there's some really interesting developments going on there, and it's going to be fun to kind of track that.
Yeah, on the Padres, I mean, I love a team that's finger quote here, small market that spent a lot of money. Is it true that the world's going to change here? That all of a sudden, hey, we can't afford this guy and that guy, and there might be a little bit of a fire sale here coming up this offseason?
I don't. It's interesting. I want to. When it comes to the financials across the board, with this World Series, we're seeing that there's two different ways to get to the World Series. You can spend a lot of money, and you can get there a la the Rangers, or you can be financially conservative and maybe rely on less high payroll guys. You can make it both ways, which is one of the things that the World Series is showing us is fantastic. San Diego is going to be interesting to watch how things go because they have big money, committed money, and more arbitration dollars, and they don't have a TV contract. So there's money there that they had been counting on when they signed a lot of these deals. They don't have that currently. So San Diego could be in an interesting spot where they try to bring their payroll down. They've already said they're going to try to get to $200 million, which would require really one major move. And that major move would be to trade Juan Soto. Yeah. And Bob Nightingale was on a buddy of mine, a YouTube channel the other day, the Hog Walk, saying that the Padres have to trade Juan Soto. Didn't work. Recoup your losses, get some good prospects back because you still get good prospects for Soto, and then take the money that you were going to give to Soto, the $30 million in arbitration, and invest that in pitching because that's what they need to do.
Well, that begs the question: is he a Met? Is he a Yankee? Where does Juan Soto end up?
Already, conversations are taking place between the Padres and the Yankees, or at least one conversation has taken place, according to SNY, that the Yankees and Padres have had a preliminary conversation. But it's going to be a free-for-all. They have not gone out there and said, the Padres have not gone out and said that Juan Soto's on the block, but what they are doing is they've made it clear that they're listening to offers. So that's going to open up the floodgates, and there are going to be no shortage of teams reaching out, trying to get into that Juan Soto sweepstakes.
Jim, what do we know? What's the latest on the Shohei sweepstakes here? I know it's still very early on in the process, but I can't remember. I think in the last week we had somebody come out and say, "Oh, the Red Sox."
Last time we had Jim on, we were talking about like, wait, is this legit? Might be, right? Because New Balance, the connection there, but or is Boston, Jim, just the leverage team here? Like, hey, that's a team that we need to get kind of in. Okay, so that's what this might be.
I think so. I think there's going to be a lot of smoke and mirrors. There are going to be, I mean, it's going to be one of the most must-see free agent sweepstakes in the history of baseball. This would have been like if Babe Ruth became a free agent in his prime, and he was still pitching, right? So this is going to be something we've never seen. So I would expect that we'll see a crazy number of teams, just a ridiculous amount of rumors. You're going to have to really sift through what's real and what's fabricated. You're going to have to rely on, reporters and beat guys that have given out good, trustworthy information in the past, and rely on what they say, because this thing is I think you're going to hear so many teams interested. You'll hear about an endless amount of mystery teams. But in the end, you have to favor the Dodgers to be the team to go out and grab them. That's going to be my feeling the whole way. Seattle's a wild card. He spends off seasons in Seattle. He admires Ichiro. There's a lot to think that Seattle could also work their way into the conversation. The New York teams are going to have a tough time because they're on the East Coast, and word is he wants to stay on the West Coast, which is the Boston thing. You got to put a big question mark over it. So how it all plays out is going to be so much fun to watch this offseason. It's almost going to be like its own little season, the Shohei Ohtani offseason.
Jim, we have a debate here in the sports bar about the postseason, about Major League Baseball's postseason. And look, you could view the World Series in a vacuum and look at these two teams and be like, not really interested. I mean, it's two teams that nobody really predicted to be. Yeah. I kind of view it through the lens of, hey, this has a potential to be exciting because they're young teams. They're teams that don't traditionally make it to the World Series. It's different. It's not the Braves. It's not the Astros. It's a different looking World Series.
All right, and can I provide the counter argument? June, July, August, and you want to throw in May and April. This is why the sport has 162 games, so you have the best teams. And now we're going to let in a team that's barely above 500. I mean, which side do you come down here, Jim?
So, anybody that came up watching baseball where the two best teams, there was the East and the West. Yeah. You took the best team from the East, the best team from the West. The 162 games told us who was best East, who was best West, and then those two teams played each other, and then they went to the World Series. If you came up in that era, this is hard to swallow. This playoff format, these teams, because you would have expected to see Atlanta in the World Series. You would have expected Baltimore to be in the World Series, but we didn't get that. But what this is showing is how close the talent gap is. You can win 100 games or 84 games, and the talent still be rather close enough to where that 100-win team does not have an overwhelming advantage over the 84-win team. In other sports, if you have a 1 to go against a 6, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, the number 1 is going to win that matchup. So the talent gap is incredibly close. But for this World Series, what's amazing, and this is what's going to be really cool and what's going to be good for baseball, is that fans that maybe don't lock into Arizona or Texas games are going to be exposed to some really exciting new talent that the game is fostering. With Texas, you've got Josh Young, you've got Evan Carter. With Arizona, you've got Corbin Carroll, you've got Gabby Moreno. These are players that maybe casual fans that only pay attention to their team, but they'll watch the World Series. They're going to get introduced to, and that's only going to help grow the game because it's going to be like, wow, look at these are some really fun and exciting players. Look at this player's ability on the bases. Look at how hard he hits the ball. Really amazing things here. Not names that because again these are not the big time teams, but something that could be really special in terms of introducing some of this new young talent that is bringing the game up.
Well, last one for me, Jim, and yeah. I'm just looking at this from the business side because what you say, I get it. It's all true. And if you're on the ownership side, you love this. Does this not suppress payroll in the end? Because why bother trying to put your foot to the pedal if you're Atlanta or Philadelphia or any of the teams on the East Coast or the Dodgers for that matter, if a team with a lower payroll is going to have just the same chance as long as you get invited to the party? If I'm the Players Association, am I not screaming murder over this?
Well, what sort of saves the day on the other side of the argument are the Texas Rangers. The Rangers are a top 10 payroll team. Now, if we had a Baltimore Orioles and Arizona Diamondbacks World Series, two teams in the bottom third payroll-wise, then yes, there would be teams constantly claiming we don't need to spend and overspend on free agents because look at the World Series last year. They got there on their talent, their homegrown talent. But Texas is here because of Nate Eovaldi, Jordan Montgomery, just as much as Josh Young and the other young talents have contributed. But Nate Eovaldi, Jordan Montgomery, the trades for those players, giving up prospects for those players, the big deals that they signed for Seager and for Simeon. So you got to do that. That's the beauty about this World Series, is it's showing that there's two ways to get there. You can get there with a low payroll and a high talent situation with your prospects, but you can also get there by spending money. And that's, I think, another thing that's good for baseball is that this isn't one-sided. Because let's say it was just two teams with top 5 payrolls. Then you would be looking at a situation where those low-spending teams, those fan bases are going to say, well, what chance do we have? We can't spend like the Mets and the Rangers. But you see Arizona in there, and it gives every fan base except for Oakland and maybe Kansas City, all 28 teams will have hope heading into spring training that maybe they can be this year's Arizona. I think it's going to be great for baseball.
Jim, you know how provincial we all are here in Rochester and Western New York. We claim you as one of us. We know you have some roots in the area, and you're doing great things, so we're incredibly proud of the work you're doing covering Major League Baseball at Barreled Up, the podcast on the Odyssey app, and also Ball Cap Sports. Tell our audience a little bit more about it.
Yeah, check me out on both platforms. We got YouTube, live streams after these games. Throughout the postseason, we've been live streaming. A lot of that content is brought to the podcast, but then there's also exclusive podcast content. Some really good baseball conversations. I've been conducting exit interviews essentially with content creators, reporters for the teams that have been exiting. We've had the Astros, the Twins, the Blue Jays. We've been kind of going through teams. I'm trying to line something up with the Dodgers. So some really good baseball conversations are happening up on the Barreled Up podcast, and over on the YouTube channel. It's me, and every now and then I'll have a guest on that we collaborate with, just talking ball.
Love it, Jim. Let's get you on here as we're wrapping up here the World Series.
Yes, let's do it. I look forward to it.
Cool. Right, thanks, Jim. Jim Riley, the Barreled Up podcast, the Odyssey original Barreled Up podcast. Make sure to follow the Barreled Up podcast on the Odyssey app or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, maybe I'll watch a little bit.
There he is. I'm not going to watch. Liar. You're going to watch. You love baseball too much to not tune in and just see. Curiosity will get you.
It would have been a professional, like what we had a guest on if baseball writers stormed in and talked about how much he loved the old format of
yeah, that's right. When he started talking about the old format baseball.
American League West, and this was the best.
As he was talking about that, I imagine baseball writer had to wash his hands. He was probably getting a little bit slimy. We're going to get to Nate Geary, the Buffalo Bills radio network here in a few, and bring back some more conversation from last night's win in Orchard Park over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we'll also get some takes on tap next.
Yeah, I actually have an NBA take that Adam Silver has gone from this commissioner that, boy, he has it all together now to the, boy, he's actually fake it till you make it the guy. His latest quotes, or is this kind of a tell here? I'm going to connect some dots here because I think that there's going to be a big breakup here with one of their TV partners here. That's just how I'm going to read this story. Also, I find it funny that the player that wants out and, okay, I'm with my new team, and then 2 months in, you want out again.
Yeah.
Maybe it's you and not them.
I just think, and I'll tack on a take just about free agency in general, because if you think back to where we were at the start of free agency and all of the chatter that we had around some of the big brand name players that were available in the NFL, look at what they're doing now. And kind of try to remember that they're free agents for a reason. They become free agents for one reason or the other. They're not as valuable as they think they are. They don't have it anymore. Their team doesn't want to pay what they believe that they're worth. And most of the time, not every time, but most of the time, the team is right.
Well, if you identify who you want to pay within your own team, let's say, okay, these are the 10 to 15 guys we're going to take care of. If you're outside of that number, like, okay, you're getting somebody's leftovers, basically.
Correct. I'll drink to that on the way next in the Sports Bar. Some takes on tap here on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Got really interesting at the end, but it's a win for the Buffalo Bills. 24-18 if you didn't stay up last night. That was a final over Tampa Bay. Head coach Sean McDermott says his defense, well, they hung on.
But the defense did a good job, for most of the game, and rushing coverage, working together. Wish we could have gotten them a little bit more from a sack production standpoint, but there's always something to work on there.
Bengals are next, coming up on November the 5th. We'll talk to Nate Geary, Buffalo Bills Radio. That's coming up later this hour. Busy weekend in sports. Game 1 of the World Series tonight, Arizona and Texas. That's an 8:03 start. Amherst hockey tonight here on The Fan is Laval, the opponent. Don Stevens has your call beginning at 7 o'clock. Buffalo Sabres out in New Jersey. That game can be heard on 96.5 WCMF. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Mayfield back to pass, pocket collapsing, steps up, heaves it down the field. This is going to reach the end zone, and it's incomplete. Godwin turned around a little too late, but he was in the vicinity to make the catch. He did not, and the game is over. Third week in a row, the game ends with the ball in the end zone. My goodness.
Hate it coming down to a last play like that. We put our defense in that situation a few times in the past couple weeks. We got to find a way to end it on our own terms.
Lots of problems still with the Bills.
Mike Danger.
It's a Victory Monday on a Friday that feels like I don't know what day it feels like anymore.
Right.
But we're celebrating another Buffalo Bills victory.
Gene Battaglia.
Can we just start there? It doesn't matter how these wins are happening. They're just happening. So let's just kind of enjoy this.
Yes.
And hello, World Series.
Hello. The NBA says it's investigating James Harden's absence from the Sixers.
College football.
The Sabres
In a game tonight against the New Jersey Devils.
Amherst, Laval. 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Let's go ahead and make Josh Allen our man on a mission. The Fan Rochester spreading the ball around, looking like the Josh Allen we've become used to seeing over the last years. Throwing, running, making good decisions. 31 of 40 passing, 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 7 times, 41 yards on the ground, and a score as well. Josh Allen, the Fan Rochester's man on a mission, brought to you by the Open Door Mission. Go to opendoormission.com to see how you can guarantee a win for someone today.
And there's a difference between injured and hurt. He's playing hurt. There's no doubt about it when he's going into the tent. And I go back to the Giants game where we saw him. Very rarely do you see players kind of like the stature of Josh Allen going in and getting X-rayed as he did. So the Bills are going to be very tight-lipped as far as, is this something he's going to have to deal with for the rest of the season?
He's fine. Sean McDermott said, right, coming out of the second half, he said, he's fine. Josh Allen's fine.
Oh, yeah.
He's fine. Yeah. He's fine. We don't have anything to worry about with his shoulder. Josh Allen is fine. Head coach said so. He's telling us the truth.
Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. I must have. I should have paid attention to what the coaches say.
I know. Kaylee Hartung, asking the hard hitting questions to the head coach as he's coming out of the second half. Out for the second half, and she asked about Josh Allen going into the medical tent and how's his shoulder. Sean McDermott said he's fine. So what are we worried about? Nothing. He's fine. He wasn't hurt when he slid shoulder first into the ground, got up and kind of had to kind of readjust and stretch it out, and he's fine. He's totally. I mean, look, Josh Allen himself even admitted it. I didn't want to get hit, so I tried to avoid those hits when I ran in for the score because I'm going to be sore during the bye week. He's going to be sore, not the bye week, but during the extended time off that you have here. He's going to be spending some time in that trainer's room.
So last night being one of the 2 games the Bills will have on non-traditional providers, the other one coming up on Peacock, that's going to be exclusive, the game against the Chargers. And I'm just passing along this note because I think people would find it comforting that if you are someone who is watching the game on a stream and then all of a sudden the circle comes up, okay, buffer, and you're missing 2 or 3 seconds, That's happening ever so often in the Bills press box last night. You would think that, like, okay, you think we would have, not that I mean the game's in front of you, but like you want to look up and see the replay because there's actually like a 8-second delay as there is with every
Get that hamster wheel going again.
Yeah,
the Wi-Fi is slow. Get them moving. Get them moving. Let's go. Nate Gary, the Buffalo Bills Radio Network, will be stopping by here in about 20 minutes, and we'll continue to talk about yesterday's win against the Buccaneers and what's next for this Bills here as they have a little bit of a break before they play once again in primetime a week from Sunday night in Cincinnati.
Yeah, this is the 3 straight primetime games. Isn't that crazy that we've reached this point in Buffalo Bills history?
Josh Allen is must-see TV.
He is. I know there's some people. There's a little bit of backlash now I'm seeing here after Florio pointed that out. I'm like, who cares? And like, okay, there's always going to be haters and detractors or whatever. Like the Bills are frauds, whatever I read on Barstool today. I'm like, okay, sure. Like, this is like
all right, America, fine. You'll get less Bills games in primetime. We'll substitute them with more Bears games. You okay with that? After Sunday night, get back to me.
Yeah, they officially ruled out Justin Fields.
Oh, shocking. Yeah.
The NBA, Danger. I've got some takes here. NBA's hit a plateau. Now, it's opening season, and it was exciting last night, Milwaukee, Philadelphia. But there's some problems. The problem isn't load management or anything like that in terms of getting a new audience. Adam Silver, though, knows what the problem is. Cable TV. This is his quote to Yahoo. Quote, our young audience isn't subscribing to cable, and those fans aren't finding our games. Claiming that the decline of cable has disproportionately impacted the NBA. Okay, full stop right there. No, it hasn't. It has not. You'd say the same thing about baseball, for crying out loud. The Padres and other teams don't have their games on locally, and they'd have to stream or kind of do a patchwork thing. So stop with that. You're a victim here. What's really happening? Well, the TV rights are up in 2025. When you say cable, what are you really saying? When you're saying the decline of cable, what are you really saying? You're saying ESPN.
And Turner.
And Turner for that matter, too. All right, so if I can connect dots here, Danger, the fact that ESPN on opening night of the NBA went full-on hockey like they've never done before.
Loved it.
This is some quiet negotiation going on right between the two sides here. Like, okay, you're going to not be happy with our offer? Well, we got this other product here.
Passive-aggressive negotiation through the media.
I'm fine if it's going to be to the benefit of hockey, honestly.
Yeah, I'm more worried about, and I don't think he's wrong, I'm more worried about where ESPN is going to be distributed, because it sure looks to me like Disney wants to get out of the ESPN business. Disney, for the first time ever, ESPN has never released their financial statement. Like, you learn now what ESPN is worth, how profitable they are, what they do. Like, they release that strategically for a reason. They want somebody to see it, get wide eyes, and say, I want to run ESPN. If Disney doesn't want them, I'm Apple. I want them. I'm Google. I want them.
It still makes money. Can we all kind of agree?
It makes a lot of money.
Yeah, not to the point that it was, and you have to be honest, the idea that the returns are not going to be all that good unless you're so smarter than
the returns are potentially declining because of how much the amount of people that are unsubscribing to cable hurts now how much cable has to pay for the rights to ESPN, and all of that is out of whack. It's all completely out of whack.
So if you're an Apple or a YouTube or anything like that, why, other than the brand name, why would you do that? Why not someday just be like, we're going to take this, and everybody whoever has the games, everything else will follow. I think that's kind of the rule there.
And I'll also push back a little bit to what he's saying, that when he says that young fans aren't finding the game. Young fans, more than any fan, will find what they're looking for. They know where to find what they want.
Young fans want to watch the last 2 minutes or whatever it is. They're not sitting down. It's young fans are just watching YouTube. That's what they're watching.
Sure,
Adam.
But you can actually find whatever it is you want. If I need to find something, I just ask my kids, hey, find this for me on the internet. And they can find it for me. They know their way. They know how to navigate. Young fans, you're right. Young fans aren't subscribing to cable, but they know where to find your product if they really, really want it. If it's a compelling product, they will find it. Hey, I want us all to remember this point of the season here, a few days ahead of the NFL's trade deadline. I want us to remember this point of the season when we get to the start of free agency again next season, because we love it. We love to speculate on where star players might end up. But the reality remains that you're only worth what someone is willing to pay you in professional sports. And if you're, I don't know, Odell Beckham, DeAndre Hopkins, Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, or any other player who sparked our interest earlier this year during free agency, it's abundantly clear that trying to get a hit in free agency is a fool's errand. Look at the production of any of the guys that I just mentioned. None of them are playing to the level of their salary, and every NFL GM is about that. It's about finding value, finding players who will outperform their contracts. These guys would never hit the open market if there wasn't a problem in the first place. Now, let's look inwardly here to the Buffalo Bills. The Von Miller deal, it looks atrocious today. But hear me out. While we may never see his production return to even 2022 levels, I won't believe that he hasn't been impactful in the growth of Gregory Rousseau, of A.J. Epineza, even Ed Oliver. Brandon Beane right now isn't paying a defensive coordinator, but he is paying Von Miller to be a leader.
Well, can we watching Von again, and I'm focused on 40 last night. That's not the Von Miller that we know, but I think we just have to really lower our expectations. Could we hope that Von Miller in 2024 is back to being, or maybe during the postseason will provide you that spark? No,
I don't think so. I think
it's over. Huh?
I think what we saw of him in the beginning of last year is as good as it's going to be for Von Miller with the Buffalo Bills. He could still affect plays, and he affected some plays last night. He didn't get the sacks. He's not racking up, gaudy numbers like he did early in his career. Those days are long gone, but I think he could still affect plays. I just don't think that's his primary objective right now. I think if you're the Bills, you like having him around because he's a Super Bowl MVP, he's a football guy, and he can work. He's a veteran guy, a leader guy that can work and get more out of the Greg Rousseaus, the A.J. Epinezas, even the Ed Olivers. I think that's where he is most impactful. And if you're expecting him to look the way he looked even last season when we saw him, I don't think those days are coming back.
I mean, I'm just kind of glancing through, and then you maybe break the seal of free agents here coming up because you're thinking, all right, well, if the Bills can't afford Gabe Davis, and these are going to be the tough decisions, right, for Brandon Beane, like the Bills have paid, they've identified their core, and you'd like to keep Gabe Davis around. You'd like to keep A.J. Epineza around. Well, just go buy another wide receiver. Why not? Okay, Mike Evans. You're going to pay $20 million, maybe? That's because probably what he would want. I don't think so. Gabe Davis right now, Danger, I'm looking at this. He's considered one of the top free agents here coming out of the market. He's going to get overpaid by somebody. You have the likes of Tyler Boyd, DJ Shark. Odell is back out there. T. Higgins, some people.
T. Higgins is probably a 1. Like, he's a 1B to the 1A that they have there in Chase in Cincinnati. T. Higgins might be worth what he'll make on the open market.
Calvin Ridley. Right. Josh Reynolds.
Yeah. I love the debate. I love the conversation when we get to free agency. It's always fun, and we get excited, man. Every offseason, we always get excited. Just remember, right now, if you're the Buffalo Bills, how would we be feeling about paying Tremaine Edmonds what he's making in Chicago just to keep him in Buffalo? He is not outplaying his current deal with Chicago. That looks like the Bills were geniuses to let him walk.
Yeah, I think that Brandon Beane, when it comes to this side of being a GM, I think he does it as well as anybody. Tom in Rochester joining us. Talk a little free agency. Tom, what's going on, buddy?
Tom.
Hey, guys. Love the show. I was just listening to you about Gabe Davis. Listen, obviously, NFL caliber player, has his moments. But, I'm taking the approach the last couple of years that there are certain positions that when you look at the draft that you can go deep in the draft and get talent. Wide receivers were one of them. Running backs, one of them. I mean, take a look at the stars in this league where they landed. Not every, a lot of wide receivers. Like, what was Diggs, a 6th-round pick? You can find talent deep into drafts. And I think when you're looking at free agency, the positions that stand out, of course, are edge rusher, right? Some really stout interior linemen, of course, quarterback, right? And cornerback as well. But to spend a lot of money on a free agent wide receiver, unless they're just elite talents, no way. Shouldn't do it.
Yeah, no, Tom, you're right, and I would kind of just piggyback on what you're saying there a little bit, that wide receivers almost becoming like the new running back here. Now, you're still going to pay a 1, but for those guys that are 2s and 3s, I mean, the Chargers being an exception, you're going to find fewer and fewer teams that are going to be committing to big money to wide receivers 2 and 3 here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Love the show, guys. Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it, Tom. Thanks. And you're always welcome to join us at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN.
I don't think A.J. Epineza will be back next year, and it's not because the Bills would love to have him back. And you can't be upset that A.J. Epineza is going to get paid more money than probably what the Bills value him at.
I'm going to pump the brakes on that just a bit, because I think we felt the same way about, remember when Matt Milano, his rookie deal came up, and it was like, oh boy, what are we going to... We didn't expect Matt Milano to take the deal that he took to stay, and it turned out to be, that is a true development story, right?
That also, the Bills are the benefit of the one and only year probably in our lifetime where the cap went down. That was just a depressed market, and there weren't many opportunities, and I think that was a big factor there. But I hear what you're saying, that I didn't think Jordan Poyer would be back. Let's put it that way. But Brandon Beane understood that, Jordan, go ahead, see what the market value is. I think Epineza is different. I think the pass rushers are at such a premium danger, especially for a guy as young as Epineza. But I think he's a rotational guy. I don't think he's like an every down, go get him. You have to game plan.
I think a lot of defenses now are moving more towards that rotation rather than having a guy out there every single snap. I think it's just too heavy a lift for these guys, and why the Bills have success when they have that success is when everybody's healthy and they are able to cycle in fresh players who can get after the quarterback.
So kind of also piggybacking what you're saying here, there's a guy who was a free agent who was out there for a while after his team and couldn't find work, and then finally he did. Dalvin Cook signed with the New York Jets, and that was going to be this big
I almost
offense.
Forgot, by the way.
Right. Well, he only got 3 carries in the Jets' win over Philadelphia. That was their last game. Well, and after a week off, we usually would think, hey, I'm not happy, and then you kind of cool off, and then you're back to work.
I always try to sleep on it.
Yeah.
You're highly emotional, or you're angry about something isn't going your way, or something did you wrong at work. If you sleep on it, you wake up, and the initial wave of emotion kind of wears off, and then you're able to kind of think level-headedly.
That's why most youth coaches have a 24-hour rule for mom and dad, like, hey, don't reach out to me the night after the game. Give it 24 hours. That's a good rule in life when you're upset about something. Don't hit send, by the way. I made that mistake.
Don't reply all.
Don't do that either. Dalvin Cook. Okay, he's a Jet, only got 3 carries. And now he's talking to his agent about getting traded. Quote, fantastic. It might be a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. Stop. You are in this position. You put yourself in this position. That's the place you wanted to go. And it's easy to hit the eject button after 2 months. That's all it is. You know what? That doesn't say anything about the Jets. It says something about you, okay? Guess what? The Jets have all sorts of problems on the offensive line. They have problems at quarterback. And you thought you were going to be the guy that comes in and fix it? No. Stop with that. And if you're a Bills fan that is thinking, we should pick up the phone because it would be great to pair him with his brother. No. I'm just hoping that James is not like his brother Delvin. That James shows a little modicum of self-awareness. Self-awareness gets you a long way in life. If you don't have it, you're in trouble. 2 months after joining the Jets, I want to trade. Get out of here.
Yeah, it is concerning if James is anything like his older brother. I don't know. We don't really hear a lot about James Cook, but we haven't had the chance to yet. He's still playing on his rookie deal, right? And he wasn't a first-round pick, so it won't be like you have to worry about whether or not you're picking up his fifth-year option. But the day is going to come where we're all going to say, we're going to pay the man? We're going to pay him? If James Cook looks like a running back you want around, because what's the plan behind James Cook? You don't really have one right now. Now, next year, you draft another running back and you bring another guy in.
Right. Like James Cook, to me, seems a half step up over Singletary. He is nowhere near the level of, okay, second contract, here's the money. And maybe this is a problem at some point when the reality is that the Bills aren't going to give him that second contract. Well, I think we're a ways off.
Or they just move on from him, right? Or they just do what they did with Devin Singletary.
They're just like you are heading to free agent.
Yes.
Free agency.
You send him off to free agency and best of luck out there. I mean, he's nice. I like the player a lot. I think he's been great so far this year when they've utilized him. He's made the most of those opportunities, and he will make a case when it's all said and done to get that second deal with Buffalo, whether or not Buffalo will invest that kind of cash. Big brother kind of cash, the way Dalvin made in Minnesota. I think Minnesota releasing Dalvin Cook, realizing, we can't afford to keep paying the running back what we're paying him. That's just not what the league is about. We're going to get to Nate Geary next in the sports bar. And a lot to unpack from last night's win. The Bills take care of business and move to 5-3 after dispatching of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in prime. But all is not perfect with the Buffalo Bills, and we've got up until a week from Sunday night to figure out what's next as they take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Nate Geary next in the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame moneyline wager required. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite. Odyssey.
Portions of our amazing programming on the Sports Leader 95.7 and AM 950 The Fan Rochester.
Bills hang on. Barely. 24-18 was the final over Tampa Bay. Quarterback Josh Allen with 3 scores, including a touchdown run.
It just kind of opened up for me, and it was right after I landed on the shoulder, so it wasn't feeling great. So I was like, I don't want to take a hit, so I just tried to not get it. It was a pass play, but again, it just kind of opened up, and I trusted my feet and my legs and made a play.
Now today, head coach Sean McDermott says that Allen is fine. 10 days of rest coming up before the next game, Cincinnati on November 5th. Next, we'll talk to Nate Gary, Buffalo Bills Radio, here in the Sports Bar. Tonight, it's Game 1 of the World Series, Arizona and Texas. Tonight, we've got Game 1 of the Amerks weekend here. It's the Amerks taking on Laval. Don Stevens will have your call beginning at 7 o'clock. Buffalo Sabres tonight playing in New Jersey. That game can be heard on 96.5 WCMF. Team Taglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Great to see us spread the ball around. I thought the effort and the production from Gabe and Khalil was important for us. All receivers, tight ends included, were involved. I think Dalton had, 8 targets? 5 catches. Good to see him get going there as well. Coach Dorsey called a good game.
Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott post-game last night. Bills offense got it going early. That rhythm, that tempo that we've all been kind of looking for. I would argue that last night was probably the biggest night ever for Buffalo Bill armchair coordinators, living room head coaches.
Oh, there's tons of us.
We're all right.
Yeah,
we're all right today.
Yeah, we're like, hey, listen, it's very simple. 3 wide receivers, up tempo, more Josh running.
Let's bring in Nate Gary, the Buffalo Bills Radio Network and WGR in Buffalo. Nate, we were all right.
There are dozens of us, gentlemen, dozens. We are always right. That is what's important.
When there's an opening, we're signing up for it, man. We know more than they do. It's amazing.
It is funny how it works. Listen, fantasy football translates. I don't care what they say. I am on pace to win Manager of the Year in one of my 13 leagues, and it makes me qualified.
Well, I'm sure we'll get into how did the Bills almost end up blowing this last night? But I want to start with a positive, that being Dalton Kincaid. Nate, in my opinion, there are few guys in this league, when they show up, you're like, oh, wait, that looks different. This skill set looks different. Can we demand more of Dalton Kincaid from here on out this season?
More. I think you can demand what we saw, like more of what we saw yesterday and the week prior. I think he's kind of finding his place, but I think more so, doesn't it just feel like he's maybe earned the trust in game situations and in tough downs, down and distances, those situations where Josh maybe almost locks in on Diggs. Now it almost feels like there is that level of that line of trust. That he can kind of, look to Kincaid in those moments, which, listen, I think comes with time. I think there was a little bit of a patience that needed to be preached going into the season with a tight end. And, listen, you look across the NFL, there's one other, young tight end who's playing well, Sam Laporta in Detroit. And otherwise, what we know about tight ends is they typically take a little while to develop in the league. But this was an offense, frankly, that needed someone to kind of step in, I think, in a little bit more of a quicker fashion. I think we are seeing, sort of the fruits of that patience now. And, I think it's funny, he misses a game with the concussion a couple weeks ago. And sometimes it's not a bad thing for young players to miss a game. And I think for me, when you miss a game, sometimes you get a different perspective from the sidelines, right? So I think for me, that may have helped. I think the development of the offense, and I feel like I hate to say this, but I think the offense looked more efficient in 11 personnel without Dawson Knox. I think when you look at the two as pass catchers, I think it's very obvious Kincaid is the better of the two as just a natural pass catcher, and I think it opened up some things in this offense.
All right, Nate, so you brought up the name. Let's have the conversation. What happens when Dawson Knox comes back off of IR?
Yeah, good question. I don't think that should mean they go to more
12 personnel. I think that, that they can still run 12 personnel. I think that maybe instead of, like true 12 personnel, you look at what it could look like more in 21 personnel, where you're really kind of going two running backs, or like instead of having Reggie Gilliam on the field, you have Dawson Knox in the backfield. Like he did a lot with Brian Dable, like line up in shotgun next to Josh, line up in sort of like that hybrid fullback role, and be a guy that they use more in that role than a traditional inline guy. Because frankly, I thought the one area that everybody was most concerned about Dalton Kincaid was him as an inline blocker. I thought he blocked fine yesterday. It didn't stand out to me that this guy can't hack it. He can't be in there as an inline tight end every down and be asked to block. And I think he did well with that. So I'm not sure. I think this is going to be a trickier situation than maybe even we all maybe recognize. But I think it's a good problem to have that you had guys step up yesterday. Khalil Shakir, obviously, I think has been sort of knocking at the door a little bit. I still would like to see more of Deontay Hardy in the offense. He really is their quickest, twitchiest athlete, and it seems like they don't do enough to get him involved in the game plan. I think he had, out of the wide receivers that played outside of Andy Isabella, he had the lowest snap count of anybody on offense. So I'd like to see him more involved in the game plan as well. But Khalil Shakir's earned that spot. They look better in 11 personnel. I don't think that's super surprising. And I think they're going to have a really difficult situation on their hands when Dawson Knox is back and healthy.
We're talking to Nate Geary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network. All right, so Nate, here are the Bills last night, up by 14 entering the fourth quarter, and you had 2 4th and shorts here in plus territory and punted. Nate, which side do you come down on? Because I can understand what Sean McDermott was thinking there against an inferior opponent and almost cost him. What were your thoughts there on those decisions?
I think he saw a defense that had been playing well all day, or all night, I should say, and he's got a weapon in Sam and in his punter that he feels like he can pin them back deep and force them to drive 97 yards. They did. And converted 3 first downs on 4th down on that one, the scoring drive that made it 24-18. But I would like to remain a little bit more aggressive. I think there was a misconception about what people were frustrated about after that game. I'm not sure that I believe the offense went conservative. I think the head coach did, and some of the decision-making the head coach made that I think let Tampa back into that game. Although the defense was playing well, if you ask me right now, and even with Milano and Daquan Jones and Tre'Davious White, I think the answer still is if you had a chance to be on the field with your offense or defense on 4th down, who would you rather have on the field? I think it's always your offense. So, especially in the plus territory, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, those are situations that I'd like to see the Bills remain aggressive in, and you get one more first down, you seal the game. You get one more first down, you get another scoring drive, and you go up 31-10. That game's over. So I think for me, trying to remain somewhere in the middle between aggressive, but not trying to be conservative. And it felt like a couple of times yesterday the Bills and Sean McDermott got a little too conservative for my taste.
How much concern do you have about the Buffalo Bills secondary? I feel like we're getting a lot of critical penalties at crucial times. Poyer, had a good game, probably his best game of the season last night. But you also had Taylor Rapp in there, Poyer coming down and playing linebacker. I mean, just give us your take on that second and third level of the Bills defense and what they mean to the success or failure on any given game.
Yeah, listen, it's tough to play defensive back in the NFL. The rules are really tilted in the other direction. The illegal contacts and the holding penalties are real killers because they're automatic first down penalties. And I think it was one on the scoring drive and the Bucs drive that extended that play on 4th down. The Bills, get a stop and then an illegal contact, and then the Bills get another stop on 4th down, and Jordan Phillips gets a sack, and then they get the face masking call that gives them the first down. So there was a couple of critical penalties at critical times that could have sealed the deal yesterday. But in terms of the secondary, I actually really liked the adjustment of, I think we started the season thinking Taylor Rapp was going to play that dime role, that guy that comes down to the linebacker position. And then it kind of went away because Tyrell Bernard just played so well. He's good. He can be on the field with Matt Milano, and then the Milano injury happens. And I like the adjustment that Sean McDermott has made, bringing Poyer down in the box as sort of that dime defender, a big nickel.
And I think for me, it's something that they're going to have to probably use and lean into a little bit more the rest of the way, especially against passing teams. But I don't mind, having Poyer down there, especially when you face a Kansas City or you face a Philadelphia who has really good tight ends and guys that, you don't necessarily want to be matched up against, Tyrell Dotson or, God forbid, like A.J. Klein or something. So I do like the matchups that they were able to create. I also think it was a good game for Christian Benford, probably one of his better games as a pro. But, I think you know what you get in Dane Jackson. It's not flashy. He's not going to make a ton of plays, but he's also not going to hurt you a lot. So I think that the secondary, where they are right now, the safeties are healthy. I think that's really good. Micah Hyde's playing good football. I wouldn't say it's the weakness of their defense. I think right now with the injuries that the interior of the defensive line without Ed Oliver is kind of the weakness right now. But overall, I think they've been steady and fine, and they haven't hurt the defense. But listen, it's just a tough league for defensive backs, and you can't get away with a lot in this league. And sometimes it feels like the Bills the last couple of weeks have been on the wrong end of that. But it's the NFL penalties. And you try to tell Dolphins fans this after their game last week against Philadelphia. The pendulum always swings in terms of the league, in terms of penalties. You might lose a game one week because of penalties, and you might win one the following week. And I think that's just the league at large with, the referees the way that they are. Everybody can complain. There's penalties missed every single week. There's penalties that are called that shouldn't be called every single week. That pendulum, I think, will balance itself out, for the rest of the way for the season.
I'm glad you brought that up because I certainly am going to defend officials, especially at any level when it's full speed. However, like when a punter takes his helmet off and is about to, how does that get let go there, Nate? What that's clear and obvious. That's a black and white kind of call there for the officials.
Yeah, I mean, you would think it's a black and white call, and yet it wasn't called. I would think that the league will look back at that, and either a fine would probably be my guess is the player gets fined. But in a game situation, yeah, I mean, you take the helmet off. First of all, it's an immediate penalty, but you use it as a weapon or you swing it towards a player, and first of all, it made contact with Greg Rousseau's helmet. That to me is an automatic ejection. So yeah, I think that was a big miss by the referees. And frankly, guys, I mean, in all reality, most of these calls, like you see, like I think it was last week that the final drive, the scoring drive for New England, they get called for too many men down the field, right? Like they get called for the ineligible man, and then the flag is picked up, and there's no real explanation for that. That's a call that comes from up top. I think these referees more and more are relying on upstairs to correct calls, or you can't throw a flag after the fact. So you could throw one and pick it up, and I think you're seeing more of that where the league is throwing a flag on a 50-50 play, and then if the upstairs kind of overrules them and tells them to pick it up, they pick it up. But that to me is a kind of an egregious miss from that from the referees in that game. That's got to be called, and that's an ejectable offense to me.
Nate, Josh Norman comes in off the street, plays some special teams, impactful on special teams, but also keeps Kaiir Elam from getting a jersey on game day. Where are you with Kaiir Elam? Do you buy into the notion that I think a lot of fans have that Elam isn't playing because they want to deal him and they don't want him to get injured before Tuesday's trade deadline? And what of the trade deadline for the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, listen, if they're so moved off of him that they feel they would rather hurt their depth, their depth by training it. Like if Dane Jackson goes down, you feel like, okay, you've got Kaiir Elam, he knows the system, and he's not played badly when he plays. There is something incredibly weird happening behind the scenes with a guy that this organization traded up to draft 1 year ago. I don't know what it is. It from what it looks like on the outside, it looks like they don't like him. Like the guy has done something to somebody. He's got compromising photos or something. I don't know what it is, but there is a very clear disconnect between, kind of what his teammates say about him. You'll hear teammates talk about how well he does in practice. And we know how much Sean McDermott values practice and how that translates into games and how that can help a guy, move within the depth chart. I guys have just never seen anything like it, especially in Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane's era of, kind of getting the best out of players. You just don't see this a lot. I don't know what the future holds for Kaiir Elam, but it's not good that a 34-year-old
Josh Norman, who was signed off the street 2 weeks prior, gets elevated for a primetime game over you. That to me does not spell well for the future for Kaiir Elam, that's for sure.
Yeah, so Nate Geary, Buffalo Bills Radio, is our guest, and maybe Kaiir Elam gets dealt, maybe he doesn't. I think a lot of Bills fans, though, have the expectation that the Bills will do something. Now, here, Nate, in our show, we're just cautioning people, you're not going to get Devontae Adams, you're not going to get Derrick Henry or any of these wild rumors out there, but what would be a reasonable expectation, in your opinion, like the level a player that the Bills should bring in? I'm going to just throw out there, what about just another linebacker here, just in case Dotson or somebody should go down there?
Yeah, I never know what to expect from the trade line from the Bills, the trade deadline, right? Like, they go out and they make the trade for Nyheim Hines. I think I was pretty surprised by that move last year. And then they didn't really use him. They have not really made an impactful trade deadline move in Brandon Beane's time here. So am I expecting one? I'm not really expecting one, no. But what I will say is I think there's opportunities. They obviously restructure Deion Dawkins, and they free up a couple of million. I think they're right around $4 million in cap space right now. I think it would be smart for them to add what that looks like. I mean, if they're going to make a trade, I'd rather them make a trade for an impact player, DeAndre Hopkins, Darnell Mooney, someone that can, maybe add to their wide receiver room. But, I think they like what Khalil Shakir's been doing, and if you go out and trade for Hopkins, you're kind of pushing everybody down the depth chart a little bit. So maybe adding a linebacker makes sense. Maybe going out and adding an interior defensive lineman makes sense for this team. Or even, another corner makes sense for this team. I cannot believe that the Bills would be, interested in adding a running back like Derrick Henry or adding a running back at all because of how well, that James Cook has played this year. And I think when you look at Cook and Shakir and, maybe a couple of other players like that, what you don't want to do is trade for somebody that takes them off the field or takes the ball out of their hands. And I think that could really impact any moves that they make going into the deadline next week.
Nate, I'm trying to envision what the world looks like a week from Sunday night when the Bills have to travel to Cincinnati to play the Bengals on Sunday Night Football, another primetime game, because, well, frankly, I don't know which Cincinnati team shows up a week from Sunday night. What's your take on the Bengals and how they've looked so far this year and how they might look Sunday against the Bills?
Yeah, they've been really, really up and down, right? And we've seen them play well against, Arizona, which, take that for what you will. They're not a good team. They're probably going to have number 1 or number 2 pick this year. So they've largely looked bad. And I think that they missed their safeties, Von Bell, and Jesse Bates. They both of those guys left in free agency. They drafted Dax Hill from Michigan last year, and that a couple of picks right after the Kaiir Elam pick, and he's kind of moved into their safety role, and they've got another guy back there too. It has definitely not been the same defense that we've seen over the last couple of years, especially last year. Their defense, I think, really led them in a couple of games, especially helped them get to the AFC Championship game. For me, though, it's Joe Burrow's health. If Joe Burrow's healthy, they are a team that can absolutely beat anybody in the NFL. And I'm not sure he's fully healthy yet, but they certainly look better. I don't know what's going on with T. Higgins. He's had a really slow start to the season. Chase has been up and down, but it's going to be quite a matchup. Luckily, they get a couple extra days to prepare. I think they'll need it. But there is something about the Bengals that they get up for these Bills games, and it feels more of a rivalry than the Chiefs and Bengals do, and they've played better games, frankly. So, I'll be excited to see what that looks like on Sunday night, and have an opportunity to maybe exact some revenge. That's for sure.
Nate, fun fact here for everybody: this is the first time since 2014 we have not had a bye in Week 8. Everybody is playing, and hey, if the Bills already played on Thursday night, it's great. We can just sit down. There are 9 1:00 games coming up on Sunday, Nate, and we got a bunch on Sunday too. When you're looking at this schedule on Sunday, what are you paying attention to? I mean, but you got the Jets there. Do you give the Giants any chance there in really what is a neutral site game? The Giants, I guess, are the home team. You've got Miami hosting New England. I don't really have any expectation that New England Cleveland's going to go down there and do something, or maybe not. Or you got the Rams and Dallas at 1 o'clock. What games are you paying attention to coming up Sunday?
Yeah, I don't see the Giants beating the Jets, but I'll tell you, Tyrod has, I think, steadied that offense a little bit. He's, I think, throwing the football better than Daniel Jones was to start the season for them. They've been more consistent. It wouldn't surprise me if that was a good game and the Giants pulled one out, but I do think the Jets coming off the bye, and they probably have a nice advantage there on their quote-unquote home field. But, yeah, I think that Dolphins-Patriots game is an interesting one for me, one I'll be watching, mostly because, I thought that the Patriots played really well last week against the Bills, and the Dolphins didn't play particularly well against the Eagles last week, and they're probably going to be looking for a get-right game for themselves. But I think that the Patriots are probably a little bit better than the Dolphins, and Dolphins fans are kind of giving them credit for. I think defensively they held them to 24 points in their first game in week 2. I would expect it to be a lower scoring game, and if the Patriots can have a little bit better offense than they had in that first matchup, that should be a close game too. So we'll kind of see what the two division games look like, but yeah, I like the Dolphins and the Jets in both those games for sure.
Nate, always appreciate when you carve out some time out of your schedule to join us here in the Sports Bar. We look forward to our conversations after a Bills victory. Really appreciate the time. Have a great weekend, bud.
Awesome, my friends. You as well.
There he is, Nate Geary. You can hear him on the Buffalo Bills Radio Network. You can hear him on WGR. Always appreciate Nate stopping by the Sports Bar.
Yeah, it was always good stuff. Well, we're talking about Dorsey and the offense there. I want to compliment him on one play because they're just like, oh, you need a trick play. Why don't they have more creativity? There was one play last night that I thought was brilliant. And maybe you remember this, Danger. All of a sudden, Steph Diggs is lined up at running back. Like, wait, what did they do?
Lined up behind Allen.
Yeah, like, what are they doing? And he goes and he runs to the left. And your eyes, as a viewer, you're following Diggs. Okay, this is where the ball must be going. Nope, hand off to the right. Very well designed run play there for James Conner.
I love the little push pass to Dalton Kincaid in the red zone that almost resulted in Dalton Kincaid's first touchdown. He would eventually get in the end zone, but that is the kind of play that you see routinely in offenses that we hold to this high standard. The Chiefs have mastered that play, right? Like you see that kind of play all the time. It was refreshing to see some of those more creative plays. Now, it wasn't perfect. We could go without shotgun in 3rd and goal. There was a handful of plays where it's like, all right, what are we trying to get too cute here? What's happening here? If it works, I guess nobody's complaining.
Nobody's complaining, but I'm again, it's a small sample size. I get that it's only 8 weeks, but they've only used him the last 2 weeks. Who wants to disagree with me on this? That Dalton Kincaid is not an upgrade over Dawson Knox.
It's funny. You mentioned there are moments when you watch a player and you see it, and you said it, like your words, that looks different. And we all remember the first time we saw that with Josh Allen. His preseason game against the Browns.
Yep, climbed the ladder.
Threw a strike, hits Rod Streeter, back of the end zone for a touchdown.
Pride of Alfred State.
It was a freaking laser, right? And if you watch enough games, you see that, and you're like, whoa, that's different. That's what good looks like. That's what Dalton Kincaid was. I mean, oh my God, the toe tap from a tight end, that's not a tight end move.
Wait a second. The ball isn't where it is. Does not matter. I'm going to go down low behind, and I'm going to get more yardage after the catch.
Yeah, an impressive night for Dalton Kincaid as his coming out party continues. But this is the NFL. Teams will figure you out, and you have to continue to kind of evolve and adjust. And boy, it's a bright future ahead for the rookie. You imagine as he kind of matures in his game and matures in the league, he'll get bigger, stronger, faster, and could be one of those really big weapons for the Buffalo Bills, very similar to what the Chiefs have in a Travis Kelce, what the Lions have in a Sam Laporta. I mean, he's getting that involved, and if that continues, nothing but good things for the Buffalo Bills offense.
14 games on an October Sunday. Does not one during the day involves your team or my team.
No.
That's the positive here.
How many snakes are you killing on Sunday, Gino, instead of watching football?
If you were with us earlier, the executive producer
Gene's wife.
My wife, right. If you're new to the show, that's what we call her. Why did Danger call her that? You dubbed her that because I go home, I get a report card. Yeah. I like this, I didn't like that. That wasn't funny.
We couldn't have more contrasting lives when the show ends. You go home and she gives you a report card and critiques the show. I go home and my wife's like, yeah, I forgot to turn on the box with the fire in it. I don't really know what we're having for dinner. Oh, you mean the oven? Yeah, that thing. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. We'll be good.
Yeah. So I got home at 3 a.m. from the game, got to sleep in just a little bit. Okay, 8 o'clock. Like most people, what's the first thing you do in the morning? I look at my phone, text from the wife, executive producer, and when you're married 24 years, it's not, kissy, can't wait to see you tonight. No. It's here's your assignment. Clean up the snake in the sliding glass door. Like,
what does that even mean?
I'm half awake. What are you talking? Yeah, a little garter snake got over there and snake murder.
Oh, snake guts first thing in the morning.
Guts everywhere.
Nope, that's a no for me. I would burn the house down. Sorry, kids. We're moving.
Should have taken pictures.
We are moving. Happy hour next in the sports bar. More on yesterday's win. The Buffalo Bills over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll continue to kind of look ahead to Sunday's action in the NFL. World Series Game 1 tonight. We've got action in the NBA. The Sabres are playing tonight. The Amerks are on the ice tonight. Plenty of action in what many would consider to be the best weekend on the sports calendar. We'll try to break it all down next with a round of shots coming up during happy hour as well. And you can pull up a stool and join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That number is 866-4FAN. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub. The new location, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com. 866-4326. Danger and Battaglia. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has HD2 and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
What looked like it was going to be a comfortable win ended up being very close, 24-18. Tampa Bay's Hail Mary attempt at the end falls short. Head coach Sean McDermott says his defense did enough.
But the defense did a good job, for most of the game, and the Russian coverage, working together. Wish we could have gotten them a little bit more from a sack production standpoint, but there's always something to work on there.
Bills now with 10 days off before their next game, the Bengals on November the 5th. Busy sports weekend. It's game 1 of the World Series tonight in Arlington, where Arizona takes on the Texas Rangers. We've got Amherst hockey tonight here on the Fan Rochester. Laval coming in. Don Stevens has your call at 7. The Sabres tonight in New Jersey. Sabres hockey can be heard on 96.5 WCMF. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Mayfield back to pass, pocket collapsing, steps up, heaves it down the field. This is going to reach the end zone, and it's incomplete. Godwin turned around a little too late, but he was in the vicinity to make the catch. He did not, and the game is over. Third week in a row, the game ends with the ball in the end zone. My goodness.
Hate it coming down to a last play like that. We put our defense in that situation a few times in the past couple weeks. We got to find a way to end it on our own terms.
Lots of problems still with the Bills.
Mike Danger.
It's a victory Monday on a Friday that feels like I don't know what day it feels like anymore.
Right.
But we're celebrating another Buffalo Bills victory.
Gene Battaglia.
Can we just start there? Doesn't matter how these wins are happening. They're just happening. So let's just kind of enjoy this.
Yes.
And hello, World Series.
Hello. The NBA says it's investigating James Harden's absence from the Sixers.
College football.
The Sabres in a game tonight against the New Jersey Devils.
Amherst, Laval. 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Happy hour in the sports bar. Who knew? Who knew that we had the answer all along, that all of us were so intelligent, so smart, that when we saw problems with the Buffalo Bills, we knew there was really only one thing that needed to happen to kind of start curing all of your ails. It was Josh Norman all along. Bringing in Josh Norman and letting him... I'm kidding.
I thought you were going to say it was us. Hey, let's have Josh run the ball. Let's go 3 wide receivers. Only use the 1 tight end. And let's pick up the pace here just a little bit.
Fantastic day for every living room head coach and armchair coordinator that exists.
And sports talk show
hosts that need the validation. Please tell us that we're right. We were right. This is exactly what the Bills needed offensively. It's the word that we kind of identified after last week's loss. It was rhythm. You heard rhythm come out of Josh Allen's mouth. We want to get into a rhythm. We can't get into a rhythm. Well, you see what that now looks like. You know what a rhythm looks like, and primarily it looks like no huddle. It looks like a quicker pace. It looks like spreading the ball to different receivers and getting everybody involved. It looks like 11 personnel and not 12 personnel. Dawson Knox not being in the lineup forces their hand to try this, which it seems is a better fit for the Bills personnel. Josh Allen running the ball. Josh Allen sliding, protecting himself. Still dinged up. Still dinged. I mean,
no. Sean McDermott says everything's fine.
You're right. No, when interviewed after halftime by Kaylee Hartung of Prime, how's Josh Allen? Josh is fine. Josh is not fine. Josh is playing with a bad shoulder.
He's hurt. He's not injured. He's hurt.
Chances are he's going to have to deal with that at least through the bye week, if not through the rest of the season.
Can they get one of those TO hyperbolic chambers there where you sleep in all oxygen?
Yeah, that's what I hope they're doing. They should be doing
that.
Yeah, whatever it takes, man. Pump him with whatever you need to do to make him comfortable and get him out there.
Listen, you can call us 866-4FAN, 866-4326. The negative, okay? The fact that was even a game at the end. And you could certainly question Sean McDermott because it didn't work out. Now, I would say this.
There's a lot of people that are really big mad at Sean McDermott today.
Yeah.
Terrible coaching job.
Twice in plus territory. 4th and 2, you're punting at the 42. Why? Well, he's looking at Tampa Bay, and the first time it worked out, they went 3 and out. Second time, not so much. So it's like the whammy. You can only hit the button so many times. You have some faith in your offense. I think there's a fine line there with Sean McDermott. If he's playing the Chiefs or the Chargers or any team, the Bengals with half an offense, he's not doing that, okay? So I think that was kind of a game management thing. But on the positive, can we just kind of bask in the idea that the Bills may really have a true number 2 option now to Steph Diggs? Dalton Kincaid has something. When you're watching football and you just realize that looks different, whether that's a toe tap or whether it's a, hey, the ball is behind me. Well, lots of receivers will catch a ball behind them and then they'll get tackled. He did it all seamlessly. The guy has hands that are made with stickum. I mean, he's catching everything at this point.
Right, and you contrast it with what we've had in Dawson Knox, who a tight end who didn't even catch a touchdown in college, right? Like, just wasn't really used that way in college at all at Ole Miss.
And Dawson Knox, his first year, couldn't block. He's had a learning curve. I think he's a productive tight end, but this feels like this has the ability to be something special.
Sure does. And it's comforting to know that it's still just his rookie season, that he's going to get bigger, he's going to get stronger, he's going to get faster, and they might have something. I love that you're saying you see something and you immediately say, no, this looks different. There's something special here. Because I think a lot of us remember that first touchdown pass Josh Allen threw in the preseason of his rookie year against the Browns, a touchdown pass to Rod Streeter. And when you saw it, you're like, wait a minute. We haven't seen that in a while. That's different. That looks better than what we've had.
Where it's a Patrick Mahomes in a preseason game against Atlanta where he just...
Magnificent.
Right over the top. Hill. Yeah, right over the top. Like, wait a second. Who has that sort of arm? Things that look different. Now, when I'm saying the positive, okay, it took a Dawson Knox injury to kind of lock this. I mean, that is one of the knocks, is that they're loyal to a fault. Loyal to a fault sometimes.
Well, I think they trust who they trust.
Loyal to a fault.
Yeah. They Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, they have a type. And if you are their type, they will be loyal to a fault. They will trust you with everything. They will put you in situations you don't normally see them in. Jordan Poyer playing in the box. I mean, just really like...
That was different last night. They had 3 safeties. I like that. We're like, how are they going to use Taylor Rapp? Last night was different.
Yeah, there you go. You almost completely eliminated Mike Evans from the game. He gets the touchdown pass.
A helmet.
Right. I mean, Benford had a nice game. Hell, even Josh Norman, who I was joking about, in special teams, made a couple of nice plays. So you got contributions from a lot of key players, and you saw the offense distribute the ball to weapons that we've been waiting for. Weapons like Gabe Davis, weapons like Dalton Kincaid, the aforementioned, weapons like Khalil Shakir, who had his best day as a pro, 96 yards, 6 catches, and also physical, not just catch, go down. Physical after the catch as well. You can see these guys starting to fight for more of that yak. Gabe Davis targeted 12 times, 87 yards. Ask me how many catches he had.
9.
9 times.
Career high. Which is surprising. Like, wait a second, wasn't the Chiefs playing? No.
That was just big play, big play.
Yeah.
So we're enthusiastic. It's a win, but it's a win that doesn't come without questions. And those are questions that we'll continue to kind of dissect and break apart here over the course of the next 7 days, 7 to 10 days actually, as we have a week from Sunday night, a trip to Cincinnati on the books.
You can we'll get to some of your calls in here in just a second. You can write to us on X, formerly known as Twitter, as Peter has written in. All right, Danger, you're the judge. Dalton Kincaid is the new Carson Wentz. Q Berlin.
I'm not going with that yet.
Oh,
not yet, Peter.
No, come on.
Not yet. You know who I still like. I mean, I'm still a fan of Pickens is still my guy. Big George Pickens guy over here. Love me some George Pickens. I know he's not a Buffalo Bill, but I I love that guy. A bulldog with fly paper for hands.
I'm close. I'm very close, Peter. Our phone number, 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. Brad in Rochester first up. Hey, Brad.
Hey, guys.
Brad, your microwave is dinging. Your microwave is going off. Go ahead.
I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
I do appreciate, because I was at the game last night, and that's why I'm sounding a little hoarse here. That was a great game. I'm wondering about the officiating and how horrible it was in that one drive. The one that seemed to take the whole fourth quarter.
Yeah. The Taron Johnson call, somebody's got to explain that to me. Now, on the other hand, Jordan Phillips, how dumb can you be? I don't know if you were able to catch that. They probably didn't show it on the scoreboard, but that was
no, they showed it on the big screen. I'm just wondering if the whistle blew before he grabbed the face mask, but that's neither here nor there because we couldn't hear the whistle anyways. The other part is I do love that this offense is evolving, even though it's because Knox, got hurt. But I'm glad the team took it on themselves to change, which isn't the worst thing in the world. They're going back to what they know is right for them, and it looked good last night. And I'm hoping that it just evolves even more going forward.
Yeah, Brad, appreciate it, and get some rest. We're all going to be going to bed a little earlier today.
That fourth quarter drive was ridiculous. 17 plays, 92 yards. You had all those fourth down penalties to extend the drive. I mean, it felt a little fishy. For guys that had Tampa plus 8.5, it felt a little fishy.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, great. Here we got to sweat this out because of this drive. I did love their call to go for 2. So many guys are sitting in the press box, why do they go for 2 now? I'm like, well, if they don't go for 2 now, they're still only down by 8. You're going to get one of the 2
Go
here.
for 2 now.
Go for the
later.
2 now,
yeah.
and you don't have to worry about overtime.
Yeah, go for 2 now, and if you get the ball back, you score a touchdown, you win with an extra point.
Yeah.
You don't have to go for 2 again.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Chris, not in Kentucky, in South Central Kentucky. Chris, what's up, buddy?
Not too much. I hear you say it all the time that marriage is a continuous negotiation. So this is going somewhere. My wife has this cat that brings in garter snakes as presents.
Oh, no.
Yep. So as part of the continuous negotiation, I'm not a particular fan of this cat. She says, hey, we can go to see sporting events. We can go to see the Sabres. We can go to see the Bills when they're around. So not this Sunday, but next Sunday, I will be in Cincinnati. Plus, we are going to the Denver game on Monday Night Football.
Look at this guy.
So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, you got you got everything mapped out there.
Yep. But I also did want to talk about the game last night. I don't know if it's been a regular day game or even a Sunday or a Monday night game. Would Sean
Chris, we lost you.
Oh, it's you know what it is. They're just now getting cell phone technology in Kentucky. You there, Chris?
Yeah.
All right, you cut out for us there for a second, buddy. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Continue with what you were saying.
Okay. Well, what I was saying was, if it had been any other night other than Thursday, because Thursday nights you have these weird injuries, it's sloppy football. And you've already got Josh playing hurt. Oh, wait, he's fine. But if it had been a Monday night game or a Sunday night game, do you think that they would have gone maybe a little bit more aggressive there with the offense in the second half?
No, I think it was just the opponent. I think it was more like, we've got this game, let's shorten it up. Josh isn't 100%. We're not going to say that to anybody, and their offense isn't doing anything. And their offense got a lot of breaks. And Chris, I appreciate you always, and have fun at those next 2 games. Would the Bills have done anything differently had it been a different night? No, I think they would have done everything differently, like if it's this coming Sunday night against the Bengals. But if it's Monday night against the Broncos, forget it. Boy, how about that? Like 3 straight primetime games. The Hail Mary danger at the end. That was a well-thrown ball by Baker Mayfield, but I'm just wondering.
I don't think anybody thought he could get the ball to them.
Right. if that's in daytime, can you pick up the ball a little better? I'm wondering how much that was affected.
I honestly don't think anybody, Tampa Bay included, I don't think anybody from the Bucs or anybody that thought that he could actually throw the ball that far and get it to the end zone. They were on their own 45. And he got it there, man. Like, you didn't get enough pressure. I mean, you're not rushing anybody. You're sending everybody back. But
yeah, it was in Buck fan, and there are some online pointing out that, okay, it's Terrell Bernard right closest in coverage to Godwin, and he gives him a little tug on the jersey. Give me a break. You're not going to. They're not. They didn't call it 2 weeks ago. They're not calling it last night.
There was plenty there to call if you really want. I mean, there was plenty of impediment there if you wanted to really nitpick. No ref wants to throw that flag, and you saw it against the Giants once. You did not see it twice, and you could have seen it twice. They don't want to throw that flag. So that's coaching. That's hey. Knowing the situation, knowing you could probably get away with a little bit more. Don't be too obvious about it, but you could probably you could probably commit a foul here and get away with it. I don't have a problem with it. We'll look ahead to that Cincinnati game, and for Chris in South Central Kentucky, that's not as bad a hike as it will be for most of Bills Mafia that want to go to that game. Of course, that'll be an emotional scene as well.
Well. Do they suit up Hamlin? Hamlin's only been active one game this year. Do they suit him up for that reason? I don't think so. But he'll be there, I would think. They're going to that's going to be like this big national news story. It's not going to be a sports story. The fact that DeMar Hamlin is going back there with T. Higgins, and we'll recount that terrible story from January.
If I'm worried about anything, I mean, everybody's going to talk about Joe Burrow. Everybody's going to talk about the Bengals offense. I'm worried about Lou Anarumo.
He's good. How is he not a head coach?
I'm worried about Lou Anarumo. I'm worried about the guy that held the Bills in check in the playoffs last year with a defense that consists of who?
I will just say this, and if you can read between the lines, folks, or did the Bills hold the Bills back in that game? Maybe, just maybe.
Maybe. But Lou Anarumo is a really good defensive coordinator. And I know that the Bengals have been kind of up and down, but that defense still makes me nervous, especially given recent history and what they were able to do at a time where now they've got extreme confidence. And by the way, that game in January, the Hamlin game, I mean, it wasn't like the Bills were looking like they were going to light up Cincinnati that night. That was a rough scene before that game got canceled.
I thought that was going to be Tre'Davious White might not be all that. To review on the Bengals, they did this last year too. They were 5-4 at the midway point, and they're farting around, foot on the pedal, and they won 8 in a row.
That's right.
So, yes. If they go in, the Buffalo Bills, and beat Cincinnati on Sunday Night Football, they're back. The Bills are back.
You feel pretty good.
You feel pretty good because then you're back.
You have Denver, and then you have a 3-game winning streak,
and then you have. Yes, the Jets are going to be really, really tough, but it's Zach Wilson. Okay, Zach Wilson. You should not get over you twice. So heading into Thanksgiving week against Philadelphia, you could say the Cincinnati game will set up the rest of the season. Really would. If you grab this win on Sunday night and you have these extra days to rest for once. Sean McDermott talked about this last night. I'm like, oh, come on. Because this was the soft part of the schedule. But then you're thinking, well, I guess logistically, hot logistic talk. You got to go to London. That didn't work out. And then you're coming back from London. You're playing on a Sunday night. Then you get another road game. And then you're in another primetime game. So it hasn't been the Sunday 1 o'clock routine that coaches and players love here. But now you have an opportunity to get, with a little extra rest here for what I think is a very, very big spotlight game on November 5th. The good thing is we have all next week to talk about.
This is Sean McDermott addressing Cincinnati.
Well, we will. We will communicate on that. I think the biggest thing that's in front of us is the football game, and that's what we have to keep it about. Is that game and what it's going to take to win at Cincinnati.
The emotional impact, though. Might that be something that you need to talk about?
Yeah, like I said, we'll discuss it. Okay. We'll discuss it. But we got to keep it about the football game.
Emotional impact. I mean, is it like players, like, I think they're professionals. It's not going to be like, oh my gosh, the last time we were here.
Yeah, hard to forget that, though, man.
Yeah.
That I think that scene was affected a lot of those guys. I mean, we heard about it after the fact that they were affected by that. I don't know how much it'll affect them come a week from Sunday, but you have to address it. And, Sean McDermott doesn't have to tell us how he's going to address it. He might not have to address it in detail or go deep into it. He might just need to say, guys, I don't need to say anything. You know what this game means. Mm-hmm. And if you say that, maybe that's it. Maybe that's all the motivation they need. But that's going to be fun. That's interesting. And I think it leads into a weekend here this weekend where I want to see what Cincinnati does against San Francisco. Imagine San Francisco losing to Cincinnati. That would be 3 straight losses for the Niners.
It's possible. I mean,
Right.
Purdy's not going to get cleared, right? Do we know anything about that?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing a lot of chatter about Sam Darnold. Speaking of quarterbacks who aren't getting cleared, the Tyrod show continues for the Giants.
Dude, I'm reading that they might shut Daniel Jones down.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of Giant fans who are totally fine with that. Tyrod Taylor gives them the best chance to win.
Dude, I told you I'm driving back and I'm listening to WFAN live call-in radio. This offense hasn't looked this good. We should stick with that. You put up 9 points.
You fools.
You have no idea.
You fools.
You think you're so much smarter than anybody else. How about talking to a fan base that lived Tyrod? Go ahead.
You fools. If you think that's the answer, oh, God bless you. I'm going to pat you on the head and send you on your way.
Bless your heart.
Bless your heart. The Giants take on the Jets at MetLife, the Battle of MetLife Stadium on Sunday. And are we going to see Kyler Murray soon?
Soon, but not that he's doubtful this week.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him, though, within the next 2-3 weeks. They're going to start ramping him up here. You've got a couple of games coming up with the Ravens and Browns. He's on the physically unable to perform list, and he could be on that list until November 8th. So the clock is ticking, but there's no injury designation. His health is clear. He's got a pathway to get back on the field. They can ramp him up maybe next week, but worth paying attention to there. Is Kyler Murray back?
Probably that means that Arizona's not going to be shipping anybody off on Tuesday. I'm trying to think of when we come back on Monday. We might have trades on Monday. Usually that'll happen. I say usually. When we first started doing the show, there weren't any trades. And then smart GMs realized, now let's make some moves here. So I'm expecting some moves next week. But if I had to put a percentage on it, what would be the percentage of the Buffalo Bills do something? I'm going to say 40%.
I'm lower.
You're lower.
15. I really don't think they're going to make any sort of move.
It'll be a move that will count as a move.
But
We signed this guy from somebody else's practice squad.
Yeah, I mean, which doesn't mean it's not a trade, right?
Right.
That's just signing
It's a
guy.
move, yeah.
I don't know that they have that really right now in their nature. I don't know that they're buyers right now. By the way, I'm going to only bring it up because. And I know we have a round of shots coming up, Gino. Forgive me if we were going to touch on this, but boy, Fitzpatrick was in rare form last night.
Taking off his shirt and he was. He played for Tampa Bay too.
But taking off his shirt, but you could tell reluctantly taking off his shirt. He was uncomfortable with it. This was Fitz is trying to be a pro at his new career, and he's got Bill's Mafia screaming at him.
You have to fill me in because obviously I was at the game. So
it was post game, and they're on the set, and as they do for primetime games, you've got a lot of stragglers still in the stands. You had one of them holding a sign saying, "Fitz, show your word that rhymes with Fitz." When Josh Allen was being interviewed, he saw that sign. He said, "Oh, look at that!" He's like, "Oh, look at that sign," and he's laughing at it. And of course, the camera, because I think Prime doesn't have to play by the FCC's rules, they showed the sign, which I'm sure made Carissa Thompson, feel really, really comfortable. I'm sure she was very comfortable being the female on the set. But Fitz, during a commercial break, because they were just chanting, "Take your shirt off," take your shirt off. They were chanting it incessantly, and he finally did. And then when he came back to the set, he's wearing his sport coat over his shirtless chest, and then they start lose the jacket.
Oh, jeez.
And so he lose the jacket, but you could tell Fitz was like, come on. Everybody was distracted. The crowd was in a frenzy. Allen wasn't really doing anything to calm anybody down.
Like
it was a scene.
It's entertainment.
Yeah.
Do we really need to get the important post game thoughts? No, it was like.
Hey, by the way, the Pinto Ron tailgate getting a lot of love as it does from time to time in the primetime games. And
how do you come down on this? Because I'm just reading the comments online. I'm not listening because I'm at the game. That Al and Kirk was saying nice things about Buffalo. Do you take that positively, or do you take it like, oh, Buffalo, yes, this is so nice, it's so fun, and a little pat on the head?
I actually think that when you're talking about Bills fans and when you hear Herb Street say things like it's a college atmosphere, like I think that's genuine. I think he believes that, and I think there's truth to that. That a Bills tailgate is unlike any other tailgate in the NFL. It is uniquely ours, and it's gotten less about the violence and the jumping through the tables, although that's still a national thing that they love to show and love to trot out. But it is about community. It is about family. It is about fun and celebrating and getting around.
You sound like a Bills commercial. It's about family.
But it really is, though. I mean, think about when you see these tailgates. I mean, it's not like father and son, and now I can say it because I took my daughter to her first game and walked her around to her tailgates and all the thing like that. That's pretty special, and I loved it. I loved seeing all of that and to see Whitworth and Fitz going to all the tailgates and doing the shots out of the bowling ball and Pizza Pete and everybody. That was fun. That was a lot of fun exposure for the Bills Mafia and for the fans there tailgating before the game and after the game. Yeah, it was wild. The post game interview was wild, and Fitzpatrick. I think a lot of us would have predicted that Fitzpatrick would have ended up shirtless at some point last night.
I don't think you could ask for a better night weather-wise.
No.
So, oh wow, walking out of there, I'm like, this is perfect.
No, I wasn't at the game, but I was in my garagio. The garage mahal was open. The game was being projected on the wall, and man, it looked good. It sounded good, and it was comfortable.
I will say that was the worst traffic ever. I thought we were in a major metro. Anybody that went out there last night, whether you went out at 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock like myself, it was a nightmare getting in there.
We got to get to a round of shots next in the sports bar.
Yeah, we got a fantastic week of sports. A pretty big promotion for the Amherst going up to Buffalo. We'll explain here. While this might actually affect a lot of things here in Rochester, we've got we had college football last night. Bet you didn't notice.
I'm worried that I'm worried about what last night could signify.
Yeah, we'll get to that discussion. Big night in Section 5. We will set it up for all the families listening right now. Good luck to you all tonight. And our buddy Zach Wilson. Remember Mraz there from the DA show?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, putting Wilson on blast here. This is funny.
Oh, yeah. I heard about this. Okay. All right, we'll get to this and more here. A round of shots coming up in the sports bar. Last call before 6 o'clock as well. You can join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line, 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has
update.
Counts as a win, right? Bills hanging on 24-18 was the final over Tampa Bay. It was a good night for Josh Allen. Had 3 scores, including 1 on the ground.
It just kind of opened up for me, and it was right after I landed on the shoulder, so it wasn't feeling great. So I was like, I don't want to take a hit, so I just try to not get hit. It was a pass play, but again, it just kind of opened up, and I trusted in my feet and my legs and made a play.
Now today, head coach Sean McDermott says that Allen's shoulder is fine. Next game 10 days from now. The Bengals are the opponent coming up on November the 5th. Tonight, it's game 1 of the World Series, Arizona and Texas. Flower City has hockey tonight. It's the Amherst taking on Laval. Don Stevens will have your call beginning at 7 here on the Sports Leader. Sabres in action tonight as well. They play at New Jersey. That game you can hear on 96.5 WCMF. Gene Battaglia, the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The best local sports talk in the Flower City. One Bills Live in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Weekday afternoons on The Fan, Rochester.
The pro is that they play a very chaotic style, and now you've seen it twice. So maybe there's a little bit of understanding. Doesn't make it easier because they're a good team with a lot of talent. Doesn't make it easier, but you might understand what's coming your way a little bit more.
There's Rochester Americans head coach Seth Appert. Laval, the Rocket, tonight's opponent at Blue Cross Arena. Puck drop just after 7 o'clock here on the Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, so where we have the Amherst and Laval, we have the Sabres in between the two of these. There's a story here. Current Amherst VP of Business Operations, Rob Minter, has a new title. He is now the interim COO of the Buffalo Sabres. This after the departure of John Ross. This according to Tim Graham of The Athletic, and actually Minter confirming that with me last night.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know, if he wants this or not, but I think that the Sabres actually would be in good hands if they brought Rob Minter up from Rochester. He has a good business mind. And then everybody else here in Rochester going to have to pick up the slack.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, let's look at where the team was, where the arena was then versus where it is now. Rob Minter is the guy for the job. That's it. Just based on his resume alone, he should get that gig.
Yep, he came from big league experience too. He was in charge of ticket operations for the Pelicans of the NBA. So imagine that. You go from the NBA to Pagula. He saw an opportunity here. So I
love that for him.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So Rob, hopefully they take that interim tag off. Stick in Buffalo. It's not the World Series we wanted, but nonetheless, it's the World Series we have. Arizona playing at Texas tonight, Game 1. Zach Gallen of the Snakes going against former Red Sox, Yankee, Dodger pitcher Nathan Eovaldi, who we were joined by our buddy earlier today, Jim Riley from the Barreled Up podcast inside the Odyssey app, called him Big Game Nate. He really is. Has 4-0 this postseason. Game 1 tonight, 8:03 first pitch on Fox. Game 2 is tomorrow. And then Sunday is a travel day. They don't want to go up against the NFL. Monday night will be in Phoenix. Danger, if we only knew now what we didn't know then. BetMGM putting out this stat. It's according to John Ewing. If you placed a bet on Diamondbacks Rangers as the World Series, a future before the season in March, you would have gotten plus odds at 175,000.
Well, I can't give you 100 plus 175,000, but I can tell you that if you're looking for a value play, a value pick, go with the Diamondbacks on the money line tonight. Yeah, get them at plus 147, 145, something like that at FanDuel. What did I get them at?
I like the team that goes from one city to the next, and like Jim told us earlier, they're running. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah, you know what? I got a boost on FanDuel, and I think a lot of users will have a boost on FanDuel. I got them at plus 170.
Chances are you didn't notice the Syracuse football was playing last night, and, you didn't miss anything. 38-10, Virginia Tech. Danger, what's more impressive? That the Orange were 0 for 9 on third downs, or that the rushing yards, 0. No rushing yards in this game. The Orange falling to 4-4. Next up, SU is back home Friday night. This coming 1 week from tonight against Boston College. It's the first home game for Syracuse in September. Keep your expectations low. Syracuse has lost their last 4 games by a combined score of 150-34.
What I don't like about this news is the whispers are getting a little bit louder about Dino Babers. And we like Dino Babers. We've had him on the show a bunch of times. I love his character. I love his energy. I don't love the language of losers. And it eked out a little bit. It was after last week's win, right?
Right, talking about the portal and like, okay.
You can't make excuses, man. You cannot. You cannot make that that cannot be an excuse. You have the same opportunity as everybody else that's out there. Now, you might not have the same money as everybody else that's out there, but you can't cry about it. You can't say that because things have changed, you're not able to do your job or you're not able to get the results that people expect. Can't do it.
No.
So that makes me a little bit nervous, hearing an exasperated Dino Babers worried about things that should be under his control that aren't. Like, don't come at us with the language of losers.
What is better for business, though, Danger? Because if you're going to bring in a new head coach, it's going to cost you because you're going to have to tack on more years, more money than Dino Babers. So what is better for business? Is that going to excite a fan base? If it's just some coordinator you've never heard of, I mean, the expectation now is we're going to get the next Deion Sanders. I'm like, you
need. I mean, look, where he's not wrong is you do need players. I mean, you don't have Sean Tucker anymore, right? Like, he meant something. 0 rushing yards last night.
0. Yeah.
Not great. Not right. So
kind of hard to win.
Yeah, for sure.
Beautiful night for opening night of sectional play. Actually, you couldn't ask for a better Friday night here in October, right? For the last Friday. Football playoffs beginning tonight. Humor me for a second because these are all great matchups. Class AA, top seed is McQuaid, although they don't have Will DeMarco at quarterback. They're going to host Rush Henrietta. Second seed is UPrep. They got tripped up there. They're at the downtown soccer stadium against Penfield. 3-6 has Hilton tonight, hosting Fairport. 4-5, Pittsford is at Aquinas. Now in Class A, top seed is Victor. They're undefeated. They host Churchville Chili. Also undefeated is East. 6 o'clock they kick off against Webster Schrader. The 3-6 matchup in Canandaigua has Greece Arcadia coming down there, while Irondequoit heading to Brighton in the 4-5 matchup. The Sports Bar wishes all the players, coaches, and their families good luck this weekend.
All right, so we had the honor and privilege to call some of these Section 5 games and see some of these teams firsthand. Gino, do you see any upsets here? Do you see any teams that could rise up and maybe shock Section 5?
No, I think that the seeds generally in this round would hold.
Okay.
I honestly, I know that's not the answer you were looking for here. Could a Pittsford go into Aquinas and win
That's the one
tonight?
I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think so.
That's the one I'm looking at. And UPrep.
Yeah, Pittsford went to the States last year.
You said UPrep stumbled.
Yeah, who did they lose to last week?
So they're coming in.
They lost to Hilton.
They're coming in with a little bit of a blemish here on their.
It's fine. Like last year, they were undefeated in the regular season, and then they lost to Pittsford in the sectional.
Right.
So, yeah, maybe that's just kind of the wake-up call thing.
Is anybody beating Victor in Class A?
I think East good. Yeah, East
right?
good. But
that's
then
the
Canandaigua plays that. You and I did that East Canandaigua game. That was fantastic.
God, that was a game. That was so much fun.
I highly recommend just going out to one of these games.
For sure.
Yeah. Go. Finally, it's not the bye week for the Buffalo Bills. It kind of feels that little bit this weekend, though. Don't be surprised and don't get angry if some players are out of town for a long weekend. But don't tell that to WFAN Sean Mraz, formerly of the DA show. He got on Jets quarterback Zach Wilson for taking a vacation this past week back to Utah. While Cincinnati quarterback Joe Burrow says he sat on his couch during the bye week. And this is the Mraz's quote, gas bag, Zach Wilson shouldn't have gone to Utah all week. Now, to his detractors, Mraz saying that checking on elite quarterbacks, what they did on the bye, check out what the quarterback in Cincinnati did this week. Zach, I don't know, you're 24 at your off week. Josh Allen's going to get out of town in December.
You rapscallion, you. Not only are you sharing this story with me for the first time, but you're also sharing an image of Zach Wilson on vacation with his girlfriend,
Nicolette Delano.
Don't Google her. Whatever you
Nicolette Delano.
Do not Google her. Jeez Louise.
Do you think Nicolette says, hey, is that true that you were with your mother's friend?
And rice. It's a little steamy in here, Gino. And listen, Zach, way to read the D, buddy. Way to read the D. Do whatever you want on your time off. But I expect that he'll come back on Sunday with some weak knees. Weak knees for Zach Wilson on Sunday.
Yeah, well, they play the Giants on Sunday. Look, if he loses to Tyrod.
Lordy. All right, let's get the last call next in the sports bar. We have time for your calls as we head into a great weekend of sports ahead of us. We've got plenty of action tonight and, of course, plenty of action throughout the course of the weekend to tell you about here as well. We'll set you up for Monday afternoon in the sports bar as well. You can join us at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Mike and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your
On the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
You know, when you're coaching against a Lindy Ruff team, I watched it 15, 20 years ago even as a pro scout, and loved what he got out of his teams then, and actually stayed in the building to watch his teams play quite a bit, because not only were they entertaining, they played hard and competitively, and that hasn't changed in many, many years. So, he's had an impressive career, and his teams are always seem to be pretty impressive too.
Buffalo Sabres head coach Don Granato taking on former Sabres coach Lindy Ruff and his New Jersey Devils. Not just surviving in New Jersey, thriving, getting the extension in New Jersey. Lindy Ruff doing all right for himself.
Yeah, and listen, he's got our guy there, Chris Taylor, still.
Tails.
Yeah.
Love us some Tails. That's tonight on CMF. We have Amerks hockey for you here on the Fan Rochester. Our coverage gets underway at 7 o'clock. Laval coming into Blue Cross Arena tonight.
Yeah, and the Amerks on the road tomorrow. We've got St. John Fisher football tomorrow, noon kickoff against Alfred University. And then I love this on Sunday. All day Sunday, and if you got to run around on Sunday, Zach Gelb, may I suggest, if you haven't heard Ion Football, that's kind of like, hey, he's going game to game to game to game, so keeping you updated. They've got the reporters in every city. It's something to check out.
So, and we've got game one of the World Series tonight. If you're like me and you're actually excited for the World Series,
you are lying. Ding.
How dare you?
Ding.
You just don't love baseball. You know what it is, Gene? You don't love baseball.
I see how you're turning this around on me.
I wish, you know what? I don't even know what to say. I mean, what kind of American doesn't get excited, doesn't get up to watch game one of the World Series? Baseball.
We were joined. Jim Riley's really good. Barreled Up Podcast joined us in the 3 o'clock hour today. If you missed that, and we asked him about the baseball format. That's what I'm down on. We didn't get any matchup that we would like, and I asked him the question. He's like, well, for people that think that, you probably grew up when you had the best in the East against the best in the West. I'm thinking, oh my gosh.
Yep.
You're speaking to baseball right
That's
here.
exactly right. That's exactly right. And what is this? This is, if anything, it's exciting because it's two teams that nobody saw coming. It's two teams that have a lot of young, exciting talent. And for me, it's like, all right, it's two teams that aren't Houston, that aren't the Dodgers, that aren't the Braves, the Phillies again. I'm good with this. I'm excited for it. I'll have my report on Monday.
I think it's a busy time of year where you got a lot of options.
You're right about that. There are a lot of options.
I mean, Monday night, we're going to be watching Lions and Raiders, I think, over. Did you see, Game 7 last Monday night? 3 times as many people watch Vikings and Niners as opposed to baseball.
Well, speaking of Monday Night Football, when we get back here on Monday, we won't have a Bills game to react to, but we will have a Monday night game to look forward to with Detroit and the Raiders hitting the field Monday night. So we go to Detroit and talk to Russell Brown on Monday.
Yeah, so Russell Brown, who also does a lot, we're inviting him on to talk about the draft, basically. There's so many quarterbacks where we're saying we haven't even dipped our toe into this, but he also is a Lions fan, so that'll set up nicely for Monday. Tony Cotillo, we nickname him our fantasy Goomba from Win Daily Sports, as we'll kind of review the action here with him. It's just a Sunday where we hopefully get our yard work done on Saturday, so we can just kind of kick back, have a cold one, and watch some good football on Sunday.
Let's see that rain kind of stay away so we can get out there, get active, because if you're like us, you probably haven't done anything in terms of getting the house ready for winter outside of your house. So let's get that done in time for kickoff at 1 o'clock on Sunday. And then, of course,
we can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
We're looking forward to that. So if you missed Jim Riley from Barreled Up, the Odyssey original podcast, or Nate Geary from the Buffalo Bills Radio Network, we'll get both of those conversations up for you right now. Wherever you get your shows, you can find them. Search out The Sports Bar. That includes Apple Podcasts, the free-to-download Odyssey app. Don't forget to subscribe. And we'll also get our entire show up hour by hour up for you shortly here, wherever you get your podcasts. And we appreciate you checking out the stream as well at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch. Like and subscribe there. We will be back Monday afternoon at 3 in the Sports Bar here on The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.